Yes, Toda for that, Rabbi Kefa. Thank you. And welcome to the room. Sorry I'm a little bit late today. I had to attend a little function. I just came back. I do have my lecture recorded, but before I play my lecture, I think just a little brief up on history is that I was speaking to some friends not too long ago. It was actually last month in the city of Karachi, and I was saying to them that the war will start next month with Russia and Ukraine. And as you know, it started in February because talking about war, and depending on who you want to believe, Russia is making a claim that Ukraine was given as a gift to Moscow, and that they set it as an independent state at some point. And I guess Luhansk and Donetsk, the regions which were held by rebels, or as they call rebels, I would be very careful. And this is something that I think all of you need to understand. I would be very careful of the news that you hear out of the West, because majority of it is total lies, totally utter lies. It's not true. It's a mixture of a little bit truth with a lots of lies. So take it with a pinch of salt. What West tells you and what they tell you is going on is totally not true entirely. Now in the East, things are very different, and things are seen very different, and things are perceived very different. And I had already said that Russia is going to make a pulp out of Ukraine. Russia is going to kick backside of Ukraine so hard that Ukraine's not going to know which way is coming, left or right. And that's exactly what happened. It took one day, or maybe even not even second day, and Russia's at the at the capital of Ukraine and ready to capture it. So I mean, ask yourself the question: is what's happening? It kind of led me to believe might is right at this point. I don't care what anybody says. If America can go in and bomb some country and then claim it's their right, then why can't Russia do that? And Russia actually has a long history with that country. Now, what they do between themselves is entirely up to them. I mean, really, neither of us benefit whether Ukraine goes to Russia or whether Ukraine goes to Europe. Neither of us benefit in any way. But I can tell you this much, that England's probably pissing in their pants. UK is pissing in their pants because UK depends on grain that comes out of Ukraine, right? And America, on the other hand, if Ukraine gives 25 metric tons of grain, well, then America gives 5 times that grain to the world. America sells 5 times that grain, and UK can easily buy the grain from America as well if UK was so desperate. But I guess the problem is this, that in any scenario, it's always the other person is made to feel the wrong guy, and this person's made to feel the right guy. And Mr. Trump's probably been on the air. You may have heard some of his speeches. He's definitely not against Putin. I mean, you've probably seen that he's not against Putin. The question is, why not? Why isn't Mr. Trump, an ex-president of the US, not against Putin if Putin is so wrong? I mean, it's a legitimate question, which means that the way the history has been painted and presented to the Western public is probably a load of garbage. That's probably why. So, I mean, he probably knows things that are not given to the local public, and he probably has inside information which as an ex-president he's only privy to. And because ex-presidents are also briefed on security and the state of play, what's happening in America, just as much as the current president is. So the thing is that and yeah, Olivia, including France. So my point is this, that all of European is pissing in their pants. Why? Because they depend on gas that comes out of Russia through Ukraine. Well, the people who are going to lose, it's not going to be Russia who's going to lose. It's going to be the people in Europe who are going to lose, because I, say that America is going to come win on top. How? Because America's got plenty of liquefied gas, and they have plenty of the other gas for driving your vehicles. And they got CNG type gas for driving your stoves. So they can supply that gas to Europe. So who benefits out of this? Think about it for a second. Would America benefit by sending in soldiers? And the clear answer is no. Why should we send our soldiers to have them killed in a war that's got nothing to do with us? So the answer is that it's good move. America did the right thing by not sending in soldiers, and we all know that you can bash Mr. Putin all you like, but he's a strong leader. He's a good leader for his country, and the people of Luhansk and Donetsk are heavily indebted to him right now. Because look, if your country has been bombed, and if your country has been massacred by the other side who claim to be stronger, and now they're claiming to be a little puppy. Oh, please, help us. Now they want America to come and help them. No, why should America go and help them? Because these same people have bullied those regions that are held by Russians, people who are also trying to live a peaceful life. I mean, did you ever hear that Luhansk and Donetsk attacked any part of Ukraine? Did you ever hear that in the last 8 years? I don't think so. So question is, why not? And then, did you ever hear that Luhansk was being bombed by Ukrainians? They will never tell you that on the news, but they did. So the point is that history is always twisted. But there is one lesson we learn, and I think that's a very important lesson that we all learn from this. Doesn't matter which side it goes to, we don't really care. It goes to, if Ukraine goes to Europe, I couldn't care less. If America gets a share of the pie, sure, it's good for us. It's good for us either way. But my point is this, that at the end of the day, neither of us have any stake in Ukraine. We're not exactly drilling oil over there and we're going to lose out somehow. So in that respect, we don't care, but we do learn one lesson. And that lesson is learned through Russia. And the lesson is this: when you set your mind correctly or even incorrectly, when you set your mind to something that you want, there is nothing that can stop you from getting it. And so Russia, the Russian leader, he set his mind to sorting out Ukraine in one way or the other. He was going to do something about it. He was going to invade the country, and he set the trap. He did the homework. He did his affirmations. He did his visualizations, and look what the result is. He got what he wanted. Just the same way I keep saying to you that if you, all of you, today, don't count yourself as, oh, we're weak and we're weaklings. We're not weaklings. We're very powerful and strong people. If you set your mind to something that you want, nothing in the world can stop you from having it. And clearly, none of you are going to do unrighteous acts. I know that, what you would want in your life is to better your life. You would want to better your families. You'd want maybe better your employment, better your homes, have a more affluent life. And maybe part of that would be also giving, to those that maybe are at need. All of that would be part and parcel of what really the house of Israel is about. So in that respect, I would say, learn a lesson from Russia. Sit down and learn a lesson, because you may learn something from what happened. And when you learn that something, you could then apply that to your life, and you'll probably get, something out of your life. Because many of the people that I know that call themselves Israelites, in quotes, are miserable people. They walk around in their so-called fancy-looking uniforms on New York Square and other places, but they are miserable people. They have miserable family life. They have miserable lives. They have no proper jobs, and people laugh at their faces. Why? Because their whole way of doing things is wrong. The whole ideology is wrong. When you fix your ideology, and you fix it according to the law of God, the Torah, then you fix yourself, and then you fix your life. A lot of people have walked through the corridors where we are today. A lot of people, Rabbi Kefa knows this as well. A lot of people have walked through the corridors, but those that have stuck around, they have come out tremendously blessed. And those that left because they thought, they want a shortcut. There is no shortcuts, but there is Torah. There is no shortcuts, but there is Torah. The question is, are you willing to submit to the laws of God? And if you're not, then you're in the wrong place. We're not forcing you to keep the Sabbath. We're not forcing you to keep festivals on certain dates. We're not doing any of that. It's entirely up to you what you accept and what you reject. And God's law is perfect. When you accept God's law and you follow it through, you will come out a winner. You will never be a loser. But our people and our history has demonstrated time and time again that when we do not listen to what God has stated for us, we always end up the loser. It's time and time written. It's in our history. You can see it going back the last 6,000 years, and you can assess it for yourself. So I will encourage you to learn a lesson from Russia, learn a lesson from our Torah, and be diligent about it. When you want something and something that is right, there's nothing wrong with you having a nicer house, nothing wrong with you making more money in your employment. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But there is a way to do it, and there is a way not to do it. You don't go rob people, you don't go steal from people. These are not the things that we do. But anyhow, like I said, I definitely have learned that when might is applied in the correct way, it yields a lot of result. And you heard that President Trump had made a comment, which I think was pretty valid. He said that when America left Afghanistan, they left billions of dollars of equipment. I think it was a double-digit figure that he gave, that they left billions of dollars of kit, and that kit was then, of course, taken over by the next coming in government, and then they, of course, sold it down the market. You guys don't know. You don't know what the hell is going on in Afghanistan. You just don't know. You have no idea, because you're sitting so far away over there. But I'm sitting right next door to it, and I get news all the time what's going on in Afghanistan. In fact, I almost have conversation with people in Afghanistan almost every 2 or 3 days. And I'm told that American weapons are sold on the market, and you'll be astonished at the prices that they're collecting. But there you go, wrong decisions, hasty withdrawals, and it could have been done another way, but it was done the wrong way. And you're just handing money to other people who can then use it for whatever. But then don't complain about it afterwards and say, well, we shouldn't have left it for them. Well, you left it for them, and you left it for them. Now they can take that money and do what they want. They can sell an American rifle. They can sell it for $8,000. I mean, look, think about it. Are you going to go buy an $8,000 rifle down, your rifle store, an American rifle? I don't think so. So here people are willing to pay $8,000 for that rifle. So we basically gave expensive kit away with a very hasty withdrawal, which I personally feel that was probably handled incorrectly. But there you go. I mean, I'm not a politician, I'm not the president, so it is not for me to decide that. But nevertheless, I still would advise my students to always look at the Torah, look at the precepts, and do what is right for yourselves. Do what is good, do what is right, and God will always reward you for that. So I'm going to play my lecture, and then if any questions arise, I would definitely take them at the end. If not, then we can close the room. So I'm going to just kick it off. In case if there's any disconnects or anything like that, the lecture has been recorded. It will be posted. I'll receive Kefa's portion of the recording, and I'll add mine onto it, and I will post it to the YouTube forum, also to the Facebook forum. And you can, if for some reason you're having difficulty in listening to it, you can definitely pick up the lecture at the end of the class. In a couple of hours it'll be posted up and you're ready to go. And a tremendous blessing in doing what is right. There's tremendous blessing in that, and there's tremendous blessing for doing the right thing, and there's tremendous wrong for doing the wrong thing. So that's two things I want to say. I want to say there's tremendous blessings if you do the right thing, and there's tremendously a wrong kind of things happen to you if you do the wrong thing. So please, take it lightly. It's not an admonishment. It's an encouragement that you listen to what God has written thousands of years ago, and we have the books. We just need to follow them through in the proper manner, and we will receive the blessings that are given us. Baruch Hashem. Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. A happy and wonderful Sabbath to all of you, and all of you are in the room. Welcome to this wonderful day. Another day to be alive and be thankful for and grateful for our lives, for our well-being, because everything that is happening in the world today, as you can see all around yourself, there is death, there is havoc, there is mayhem, there's problems, there's all sorts of things. Do you ever turn the news on and they say to you, hey, we got great news for you today. Today there's been a wonderful day. Today somebody did this, and somebody built a big nice house, and somebody won great amount of money, and somebody invested in business and they did wonderful things. Have you ever noticed that? So have you ever heard a news company, any news company, give it whatever letters you want to, any letters, I'm not biased for any news company. Have they ever said, oh, such and such person, he built a huge big business, he's very successful, he's got a beautiful family, and such person climbed the mountain Everest or whatever, and such person did this, and such family did this, and such woman came from a really low background and achieved success? And the answer is no. You will not find that, generally speaking. Majority of the news media, and it doesn't matter which one you support and which one you do not support, and it doesn't matter what your preferences are, but you will not find news media giving you positive news all the time. Because really, what should it be? Maybe we'll have to go to Discovery TV or somewhere else for our information to get, find out, what's happening in nature and who's doing what and who succeeded in getting to Himalayas and who climbed K2 and who climbed the Himalayan mountains, etc. And who swam, 100 miles, etc., etc. Point being that news media is total and utter negative. So why is it? Why are you all listening to negative news? Now, you listen to negative news daily, majority of you, and then you wonder why you can't manifest your desires. Think about it. You are always manifesting, you, by you I mean, in quotes, whoever is listening out there, you are manifesting negativity majority of the time. And the reason is very simple. It's simpler than you might think. You watch negative things, therefore you enforce negative results. That is where you and other people live. Now, if all you did as a person, and let's take the Torah as a book, and we'll talk about that in a second. Torah as a book is an instruction manual. And not just Torah, any religious book out there is an instruction manual for the people, whether that's Torah, whether that's Bhagavad Gita, whether that's the Quran, whether there's some other holy book, New Testament, if as Christians believe, whatever holy book that they believe to be their book, even the Zoroastrians, it normally has instructions for how they should live. And I think that I wouldn't be wrong to say that majority of the time they try to veer you away from negative situations. Majority of the time. And the Torah is replete. The Torah is replete with instructions about how to avoid negativity, how to remain in positive situations, how to do good, and how to receive good. The Torah is about covenants. And our Parsha today talks about the covenant of giving. It's Terumah. Terumah is the Torah portion, the portion of the reading of the Torah in which God basically talks about, in the book of Exodus, chapters 25, verse 1 says, then in your Bibles it might say, then the Lord spoke, or then Yehovah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel that they bring me an offering. And so it talks about an offering, a terumah, a goodwill offering. Now, from here derives many things. And from here derives your blessings. From here derives your wealth. From here derives your benefits. from here drives your health. How many of you ever thought that by giving a donation of money, like a tithe or a sadaqah, basically a charitable offering towards some good cause, whether that's widows, whether that's orphans, tithing goes to the Kohen, the priest in the gate, and the sadaqah goes to them as well. How many of you ever thought that they can bring you blessings? So if you did not think about that, I would encourage you to think today. Think today that such a thing as a tithe, which is considered a 10% offering, a sadaqah, which is considered a 10% offering as well, that's 20% in total. I mean, we all pay taxes. Let's face it, unless you're a thief and you hide your money in your mattress or somewhere and you steal from people. And I'm not accusing you of being a thief, but I'm just simply saying that all of us, decent people in the world, we're all decent people who are listening. All the decent people in the world, they pay taxes in their governments. And the government may charge you different rates of tax. In the UK, it might be 23%. If you're earning a certain limit of money. In the US, state taxes and other taxes combined together, maybe talking about 28 to 30% taxes. The UK is about 30%, if we add the national insurance. And then other countries, similarly, taxes. They charge you taxes. But have you ever considered to pay God's tax? How many of you would consider to pay God's tax? Because that's what really brings you the return. I mean, if I pay 30% to the government, I might be fortunate, and I consider myself lucky if I can eat my pension at 66. Okay, I'll consider myself lucky and fortunate if I get to live to 66 and eat my pension from the government. That's my taxes, right? Now, and if you happen to go to the doctor, you still have to pay for your prescription charges in England and other things. But the thing is, in America, it's all insurance. You still have to pay for it. You don't get it free. But my point is this simply: take my challenge today and ask yourself this question: if I pay God's tax, if I pay His tithe, and if I pay His sadaqah, His charitable offering of 10%, if I do the 20% for God, is God going to give me the benefit? And I challenge you today. I challenge you that you will reap the benefit in this life. You will not have to wait to be 66 to collect pension. You will not have to wait to be 66, if that is the age of your country, or 65, or 67, or whatever they made it today. You will start reaping the benefit this year, this same month. You will start reaping the benefit. The problem is this: how many of you are doing that? And I can tell you, even with a glad guarantee, that majority of you don't do that because you're being stingy. You're being mean. You're like, oh, well, no, I want to keep this money for myself, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, I want to pay that bill. No, you do that. Let me give you a testimony of a student. Two students, actually. One student, she said that she was suffering a little bit hardship. Maybe, she wasn't getting enough salary from the job. She was working. She wasn't getting enough salary, or something was happening. And she said, you know what? I decided that rather than pay my bill first, I'm going to pay God first. She said, I paid my tithe first, and I decided that I'm going to pay my bill after. I'm not going to scrounge, and I'm going to whine. I'm not going to say, let me hold the money back for the bill first. I said, I don't care. My bill will be paid. If God is paid, bill will be paid. That was her thought process. She did that. She sent her tithe in. And when she sent her tithe in, she said the money came and the bill was automatically paid. And I was so happy that, yes, this method works. God always pays back. Uncle Sam may not pay back, but God always pays back. Now, another one of my students, she said that, I haven't worked for several months. She may be collecting disability, maybe Social Security. I don't know. They call it different names in America, SSI, and there's all these funny letters that they use, which I'm not 100% aware of, and I hear them from my students. So she said that, she hadn't done a job meaning she hadn't gone out and done any proper work, doing whatever she does, for a few months now, maybe because of COVID, maybe because of bad weather, or whatever the reason was. But she said that she decided one day, she wasn't doing any tithing on her disability. And as you know that I don't tell you to pay tithe on disability. I tell you if you've got disability, don't pay your tithes. You can do a zadaqah offering, and you can do a small offering of zadaqah, whatever you wish, but you don't have to do a 10%. That's what I told you, because I don't want to put people into hardship. But listen to this story. She said, she asked me, she said, go ahead, can I give zadaqah, can I give tithes on my disability? And I said, go ahead, do it and see the result. And she did. She gave money on her disability, on the tithe, the zadaqah, and you know what happened? She got twice the money back. She said, every one of my bills was paid at the end of the month. I had no hardship, and I had money left to do other things. He said, so I realized that I must do this from now on, and I'm going to do it because it is bringing me a benefit and a blessing. And why shouldn't I do it? So, a point being that do not shy away from giving to God. I have heard billionaires making statements saying that we give 10% tithes. I have heard billionaires say that. And Rabbi Kefa has probably heard it as well. I've heard billionaires say that. And billionaires don't have lack of money. So if you are lacking money, your biggest problem is tarumah, tithe. You are not paying your tithe, you are not giving tarumah, and you are suffering. So I encourage you today again to think over what you're doing. Don't think to yourself, oh, I'll save that $100 and I'll pay my bill. Or I'll save that $100 and I'll buy my next, I'll put it towards my next Apple phone. If you pay your tithe and zadaqah, God will make sure that you have enough money to purchase your Apple phone and your Apple Mac Air M1, and He will make sure that you have money to do everything else. He will make sure. It is God's prerogative. It is God's job. He will do that. Now, you may say, I don't believe in God. Okay. I'm not forcing God upon you. I'm not saying that you have to believe in God. I'm just telling you that if you follow simple principles that He laid out and you just test them, just for the sake of testing, just test them for 1 month. Test it, whether you believe in God or not, and then you'll see the results. So that's where our Pasha is today. And I will highly, highly, highly encourage you to not listen to negative news. In fact, don't listen to news if you really must. If you really must keep up with things, and yeah, sure, look at your headlines. Because you may get headlines on your laptop, on your telephone, Google News and all that. They give you headlines, and you can just read a headline. And if I pull up my phone right now, my Google phone, and where is my phone? Let me pick it up and just give you an idea. I pick up my Google phone and I open it and I turn it to the right. I swipe right, and here is my headlines: MacBook Air M2 specs, features expected. Save $249 on Apple excellent 14-inch MacBook Pro laptop. MacBook Pro 2021 with M1 Max. Experts give their first impressions, production expert. These are headlines, by the way. Then it says introducing the Mac Mini Pro again. Okay, let's keep rolling down. What's the next headline? Then it says the most popular investment application. Then it says Bill Gates says COVID risks have dramatically reduced, but another pandemic is coming. Okay. Then we have KIA. They pronounce it Kia over here. You might pronounce it Kaya. It says Hyundai. Kaya recalls nearly 485,000 more vehicles over fires. Okay. Next, 8 high-protein desserts that can help reduce blood sugar spikes. Next, Google's February update fixes annoying Pixel 6 keyboard and camera bugs. After that, SSDs are about to get more expensive. 7 ways to take screenshots on Windows 10 and Windows 11. My point is this, that these are headlines. PDFs are so last year, convert your content into any digital format, flipbook, viewbook, blah, blah, blah. Okay? The story of the Lambo-inspired Toyota minivan with a mid-mounted twin-turbo V12. Windows 11 will soon force everyone to have a Microsoft account, etc., etc., etc. My point is this, that these are headlines if you must. If you're a news
freak, then all you can do is just read the headlines. These headlines are enough. I mean, they're not going to cause you any kind of negativity. All you basically, I mean, by reading these stories, what did I learn? Okay, I learned that there's a new Apple M2 coming out. Okay, how does that affect me? But it doesn't. Because unless I want to buy it, it doesn't affect me in any way, negative or positive. It's neutral. Number one. What does Microsoft say? Neutral. What does Windows 11 say? Neutral. What does the other bit about PDFs and the screen capture? Neutral. About the 6 Pro, I don't have a Google 6 Pro, so it's really not relevant to me. It's neutral. All the news headlines I read on my phone were totally neutral to me. They did not put me one way or the other way towards negativity. So my point, just if you must, just look at the headlines and leave it at that. Don't go any further. Unless it's something you are trying to buy. Let's say you're trying to buy a fridge freezer and you want to, go and check on your latest fridge freezer. Sure, go read about your fridge freezer. If you're trying to buy a Mac laptop and you must read about it, sure, go buy go read your laptop's information. If you want to buy an Apple phone and you must read about the new latest features, sure, go read it. It's not negative to you because that's your desire. That's what you want. A desire is a desire. And it doesn't matter if it's an Apple Mac or it's a Mercedes or if it's something else. If it's a, $25 million jet you want to buy, go read about it. That is perfectly fine. That is not negative. This is why I recommend to my students at night, before you go to bed, have a 5-minute video. You don't have to go on YouTube to do it. Half the time, some people don't have internet over here. So my point is that put it up, download it somewhere, a 5-minute wealth video, a 5-minute or a 10-minute wealth video, even a 5-minute, just a 5-minute wealth video. I would highly recommend you look at it before you go to bed. Why? Because it will open up your senses, your vision, your brain. You will have those images in your brain, images of beautiful cars, jets, nice houses, good-looking sceneries. They are what enhances us as a people, as human beings, because we are, build on images. An image, a picture is 1,000 words. So I highly encourage you to do that. Some of you who are the reading type, who like to read, I will highly encourage you to read maybe a chapter before you go to bed. Now, you may be somebody who likes to read, I don't know, maybe novels. Maybe you pick up a book like Think and Grow Rich and you read a chapter of that. And if the chapter is too long, maybe just read 2 pages. And if you are somebody who likes reading the Bible, I'll highly encourage you, and you should all have a practice that you should, before you go to bed, you like one of your psalms, one of your favorite psalms, you just read your favorite psalm. Not too hard, not too difficult, not such a problem. So the number one thing that you must do is try and avoid negativity, negative news, negative talking, and negativity, period. Now, I know it's going to be very difficult. I tell you why. Because some people, they thrive on negativity. That's all they like. They like negativity. They like, talking about other people, how, good or bad they are. And they like talking about negative items in the world, negative things happening around them. And on and on it goes. It doesn't stop. So one thing I highly recommend for all of you is there are a number of things that you must clean up. Number one, if you're not a tithe payer, start paying tithe. Number two, start distancing yourself from people or media, TV items, internet news that only speak about negative. I mean, if you like looking at nature programs, things that give you information, that's perfectly fine. Make a habit of every night, if you can, or if not every night, during the day sometime when you have free spare time on your hands, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, give yourself some good video, some good YouTube video that gives you perhaps, wealth information, something to do with wealth, whether it's pictures, sounds, music, things like that, you talk about, how some billionaires have made good businesses, how some multimillionaires have made good businesses. Make a choice to watch those, even if you watch 5 minutes of it, and make a choice of doing that at least once a day if you can. Third, I would advise you to take a card, which I have said before as well, or a notepad. If you like notepad, if you are in the home, you'll have notepads around you. Pen, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a green pen. It could be any color pen, as long as it can write. Take a pen, take a notepad, and make the effort. Effort equals result. Make the effort to write a small list, maybe just items that you desire to have in your lives, that you desire, and maybe at this point in time, you may not have the exact finance you need, but you are envisaging, you are seeing that you will have the finance, that God will give you the finance. So it could be a new car, it could be a new house, it could be a change of, fridge, freezer, could be you want a new stove, could be you want a new cooker, a new microwave, whatever. New iPhone, new laptop, whatever. It doesn't matter, just write it. Can you at least do that? Can you at least, when you get up in the morning and you sip your coffee on your table, can you at least write a list out? Maybe a list of 5, 10, 15 items. And if you don't like writing a big list, maybe just a small list of items that you desire. Who wouldn't like $1 million in their account? Well, if you don't, then that's fine. then you're probably a minority. But if you like to have, $500,000 in your bank, cash sitting there so you can use it for some investment, maybe you like to have a more than $1 million in your bank you can use for your investment. Yeah, write it down. Write down desire. Desire. It's a desire. It's a list. $50 million in the bank. $100 million cash in the bank for investment. You may want to invest $50 million with Apple company. You want to buy Apple shares for $50 million. So what? Many people are doing it. Why can't you? You can do the same. So these are ideas. These are things that you can write. And what you write, what becomes reality. Again, I repeat myself. What you write becomes reality. Now, part and parcel of this writing is you read it at least 2-3 times a day, rather than whining about, that person's got corona and then my cousin got corona and she's suffering and blah, blah, blah. And how some people talk on the phone and they go on and on about corona. Well, let's forget about corona for a second and let's start talking about your desire. How you spend your little time and you write out your desire and you say to yourself, this is my desire and this is what I want, and yes, I'm going to write it down. So write some positive statements. You only have to write these statements, positive statements about yourself once. Now the list, you can adjust your list. If today you wrote that you want a Apple 13 phone, but tomorrow you can go back and say, well, you know what? I've changed my mind. I don't want an Apple 13. I'd rather have an Apple 12. That's okay. You can do that. And if you just happen to miss it for one day, because one day you didn't write it, it's okay. You can write it tomorrow. But do make an effort to write it, because there is a connection between brain and hand. Hand and brain has a connection. So it's important to write at least 1 time a day. Now, you want to write some good statements about yourself. You don't have to have the neighbor say to you, hey, how wonderful you are, because the neighbor may not say that. Or maybe your cousin, who says to you, what a wonderful cousin you are, how you helped that cousin all along. Maybe that cousin will not say that. But say that for yourself. Say it for yourself. Write it. Read it daily. Now, you may not want to write that every day about yourself. If you're the lazy type, and there are many lazy types, I'm sorry to say, there are many lazy types, but But you don't have to be like that. What you can do is, if you are one of the persons who says, it's a chore writing it every day, then you can just write it once and read it every day. Read it 2 to 3 times a day. At least you can do that. Just as you go for a job, you go and do a job and it's a chore, you have to do the same thing every day. The same way you can make this a chore. Read it every day. And something about yourself. It's what I call, your self-talk or your self-worth. Write something good about yourself or read something good about yourself that you have written. If you've written it yesterday, then you read it throughout the week. And you can take a Sabbath rest. You don't have to do it 7 days a week. You can take 1 day off and you can say, that's my rest day. Today I'm not going to do nothing. Other than eat, I'm not going to do nothing. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. So what is something that's good about you? Think about some things that are good about you. You are your own master. So what's a good statement about you? I am the master of my own destiny. That's a good statement. That's something you can write. I am highly valuable. That's a good statement to write. I'm highly favored. That's a great statement to write. If you're worried about your job, they're going to keep you or kick you out, then you can write that I'm highly favored. That means that statement being repeated over and over in your head will make sure that the company want you. They will not remove you. You're highly favored. They want you in their company because you are an asset. I am always chosen. That's an asset. That's an asset. You must write the asset about yourself. I am great. That's an asset. That's an asset. I am loved by wealth. That's an asset. Wealth loves you. I am loved by wealth. That's an asset. Write it down. Read it every day. And I'm not saying that you have to keep on writing these statements every day. At least write them once. Write them once in your notepad. And if you're too lazy to write on a notepad, you can type it on your screen. But there is a difference, by the way. There is a difference between screen and notepad. I would encourage you to at least write it once on your notepad. Then after that, you can screen it. Put it on your screen, put it on your telephone or whatever. Or speak it into your phone, into your phone recording app, which is usually called Memo or something else, or a phone recorder. So write these things. What's wrong with it? Write it. And also write some statements that God says to us. What does God say to you? God says, no plague shall befall you. So how do you say it? No plague shall befall me, or evil enter my home. It's a great statement to have. Record it. Write it and record it. These are the kind of statements that you want to have. You are a divine person. You can say, I'm a divine soul with a divine mission. It's a great statement to have. I'm a divine soul with a divine mission. These are statements about yourself. If you cannot speak good about yourself, can you imagine who can speak good about you? Think for a second. If you will not speak good about yourself, who will? So speak good about yourself. I'm a wonderful person. I'm a wonderful human being. That is speaking good about yourself. You must do that. This is very important that you do that. This is why I keep saying that write some good statements about yourself and speak them. You can write a statement such as, if you're having a hard time with money, if you find that there are resistances, there are blocks, that money is harder to come by, then you can say statements like, money loves me. Money is my best friend. Money loves me. Money is my best friend. And our friendship will last forever. And you can even say statements like, you can say that money comes to me in increasing amounts from multiple sources. Money comes to me in increasing amounts from multiple sources, meaning that if you have $1 million in the bank, it doesn't matter because it's all relative. You'll get more money. If you have $1,000 in the bank, you will get more money. If you have $100 in the bank, you will get more money. If you have $10 in the bank, you will get more money in increasing amounts. Money comes to me in increasing amounts from multiple sources. Write it down, read it every day. Look, it's about you. This world is about you. You are the important person. When you put yourself on a pedestal, everybody else will as well. If you put yourself down there on the floor, and if you kick yourself on the floor, everybody else will kick you on the floor as well. So do not allow that to happen. Do not allow people to kick you on the floor. Don't put yourself there. Don't, demean yourself. Lift yourself up. I am wonderful. I am great. I am strong. I am mighty. I am the best. This is the way you lift yourself up. These are the same statements you will find in the Bible over and over again. If you take the time to read it, you will find these statements in there. You will find these statements in there. And so I encourage you to do that. Encourage you to write some self-respect statements that lift yourself up. Then you can put some self-manifesting statements that are regarding money. If you're trying to win the lottery, I explained to you the snooping technique. The snooping technique is easy. You just have in your mind's eye, in your inner self, inner mind, you hear two people talking. Maybe two of your cousins are talking to each other, and they're saying, how, hey, that person, Jennifer is such a, Jennifer just won the big lottery jackpot, $50 million or $100 million, and she just bought herself 10 houses down the road. What a lucky girl. These two people are having a conversation. One cousin is saying to the other cousin, hey, do you know that Jennifer just won the lottery jackpot? She just bought 10 houses down the road, cash, and she's renting them and collecting rent. And the other cousin is saying, yeah, I heard that. She is such a lucky girl. And you just repeat that statement over and over again. Or if you desire a nice job, if you want to get a $100,000 job, $200,000 job, then two of your friends are saying, hey, do you know that Jim over there, he just made his $200,000 job. He's working for such and such company earning $200,000 a year. What a lucky guy. And then the other person, the other friend, two friends talking, and you're overhearing the conversation. The other person is saying, yeah, what a lucky guy, 200K, that's a nice salary. So you just repeat it 4 or 5 times every day, 4 or 5 times every day, repeat it. If you follow these instructions through, rest assured, I guarantee you this. Rabbi Simon Altaf guarantees you this, that it will come to you what you ask. If you kick yourself on the ground, you will be kicked by other people. If you lift yourself up, other people will lift you. Now, where do you want to be? Start with your tithing and your tzedakah. Start making a covenant with God. Tell God that you're making a covenant with Him today. Tell God that He supplies all your needs. That your covenant with God is that He will supply all your needs. And you will give Him, and He will return back to you. And He will supply all your needs from today. And you put your belief in it. And you can write it down as a statement. And you can say, in similar words, God, I thank you that you've given me birth, you give me life and health. And I seek great life and great abundance ahead. And I'm making a covenant with you today. Yes, I am making a covenant with you today. That I will give what you require. I will give your tithes and tzedakah to your Kohen. And you will supply all my needs. I will not have to go borrow and beg to anybody. You're going to supply my need. You're going to do it, and I know it. And I write this agreement with you, and I seal it. Thank you, and amen. End of story. Stick to that, and you will do great works ahead. And yes, since I revealed the milk issue, several questions have come in. One question was such that if we are not designed to drink cow milk and buffalo milk, then what do we do with our babies? And the answer is very simple. If you look at China, look at India, look at Pakistan, look at other nations in the East, you will find that babies are fed mother's milk for at least 2 years. I even know some Chinese women who feed their babies up to 4 years. It's incredible, but I've heard it. And so at least 2 years, you feed your baby with your mother's milk. And then after 2 years, the baby's grown enough to actually start eating, banana, small fruits, and even small amounts of food. And so that is the actual way that God designed the baby. God did not design a baby to be fed a cow's milk or buffalo milk, because let's look at it this way. How many families in the world today actually own a cow or own a buffalo? So likely you're going to have to buy it from somewhere, and chances are that if you're living in the East somewhere, 99% chances are that 1% people are honest and 99% people are dishonest, and they will put water into the milk. It will not be pure milk. Even in America, they take out the cream and they tell you that they've taken out the cream, or it's double cream, or it's without certain elements of the milk. They tell you that. So they've been honest about it. Same in the UK, in Europe. So, but in countries like Pakistan, India, they don't tell you they've taken the cream out. They don't tell you they've mixed water, but they do. That's what they do. I spoke to a guy who sold milk over here, and I asked him, I said, what is the rate of the milk that you normally sell? And he said, if we sell milk with water, it's 110 rupees. And if we sell milk without water, it's 140 rupees. Okay, so to get an idea of 110 rupees for a kilo, I think 110 rupees, I'll give you a rough estimate, it's about 50 pence. And 50 pence to 1 kilo. And if he sells it without the water, he mentioned 140 rupees, and let's just say 140 rupees, give and take 60 pence. Okay, so that's about a kilo. Now, 140 rupees may not sound like much to some people out there, but over here, a person who earns, I'd have to work it out because it's hard to just give you numbers, but a person who earns 1,000 rupees a day as a laborer, he basically makes £4.20 a day. Okay? Somebody who's a laborer. He earns £4.20 a day, and you times that by 30, that's 126 pounds. Now, how is that person going to afford 140 rupees of milk every day? On top of that, he's got to buy vegetables for his family. He's got to buy, other things, pay bills, energy bills, and I can tell you that chicken for a kilo over here at this point in time is going for about, in terms of dollars, is going for $1.88 a dollar. So $1.88 is 1 kilo of chicken is $1.88, and for pounds that would be about 135. It's about £2.54. So £2.54 for a kilo chicken. Now, many people in this country today, the ones who earn 1,000 rupees a day, cannot afford to buy 1 kilo chicken. If they go to buy chicken, they might be buying maybe a quarter, basically 1/4 of a kilo, or maybe half a kilo at best. That's what they might be able to afford, and not every day. Not every day, by the way. This might be 2 days a week or something, or 1 day a week. Because remember, they have to pay bills, they have to pay energy bills. Energy bills are slightly high. The electric bill is slightly high. They may have to pay a gas bill. They do not pay a water bill because it's usually generated from the ground, comes out of the ground through a motor. And so you get my gist. Now, if you ask me, why haven't the doctors said this, then its answer is very simple. The doctors are as corrupt as everybody else, because the doctors know Some of the I don't think all the doctors are clued up, because some of them are just dumb bags as anybody else. They're just dumb as dumb can be. But some doctors are clever, some doctors are wise, and some doctors know this. But doctors do not speak against status quo. Why? Because their jobs are at stake. They are paid by the pharmaceutical companies. Do you seriously think that a clever doctor is going to go around telling everybody that, don't drink milk and start to have his name struck off because, he happened to become the whistleblower? So no, that's not going to happen either. I know a family. I went to Karachi, a family, and a student of mine, and he was telling me that this story about 10-15 years ago, it occurred about 10 to 15 years ago, and he used to work for a rich man, a textile mill owner. At that point in time, that textile mill owner used to give them everyday money for food, and he gave them good money for food. He said, go eat your lunch, and he gave them good money. And all of these workers that worked for him were very happy. They said, wow, our boss is giving us good money for food. It was like giving them £5 a day, in comparison to today. £5 a day, 15 years ago was good money for a lunch. So they used to go, they have to have their lunch, but he would not give them money for tea and milk. Listen to this. He would tell them, look, if you want to drink tea, go and just drink the kala, the brew. Just drink the tea brew, but do not put milk in it. Because in Pakistan, and I believe in India as well, majority of the people drink their tea just as milk. All they do is add tea bag or the tea, leaves to it. They boil it in milk, just milk. They don't put no water in it. And that's what they call tea. And that is the most dangerous tea that you can drink. That is the worst tea that you can drink. And they call it good tea over here, by the way. These people are clueless. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And I can tell you that I know so many people in this country who have kidney stones, they have gallbladder stones, they have heart, blood pressure, they have heart disease, they have so many diseases that, my goodness, it's incredible. And so I, for one, can tell you, do not do that. Now, if you want to drink milk, if you like to drink milk, there are alternatives. There is powder milk. You can make milk out of powder milk. I mean, I drink powder milk. I have been drinking powder milk since I've come to this country. I don't drink the regular milk. Every time I touched regular milk, listen to this. Every time I drank regular milk, and that was a couple of occasions, I immediately got diarrhea. And my body could not accept it. And so I stopped drinking regular milk. And every time I drink powder milk, absolutely no problem. I can have powder milk. I can make milkshake with powder milk. I can make hot chocolate with powder milk because it's readily available. And I have absolutely no problem. But every time I use the other milk, my goodness, my stomach goes, haywire. Because I'm just not used to that milk. And my body is not designed for it. And I remember when I was in England, I used to drink very less of that kind of milk. Very, very little, if any. And I used to actually buy special milk. And in America as well, I tried to get special milk because I just, my stomach just can't handle it for some reason. Because maybe, when I was young, when I was a baby, I fed my mother's milk. And after that, I wasn't like the normal children, eating all crap. I just didn't eat any crap. I was just into chocolates. And that's all I really had. Chocolates. And I guess that's the only other way I get my milk. But I don't think even in chocolate they put regular milk. I think they put powder milk and they mix it up. And it's not pure milk in chocolate either. So, but in the chocolate you have cocoa powder, which is good. So my suggestion to you is that your babies, a student of mine asked me the question about his little son. I told him that for his son, use formula milk. If mother doesn't have enough milk, use formula milk. That is good enough. Secondly, alternatively, if some of your babies are having rashes, then I suggest you use this alkaline water machines that give out. They have two pipes. One pipe gives acid water, and one pipe gives drinking water, which is called alkaline water. Your water should be 9 to 11 pH. Should be. I doubt most of you even do that. So if it's not 9 to 11, that's what you should strive for. In America, it is easy to just attach one of these little units to your tap, and you can get 9 to 11, a pH value. Now, in such a country as Pakistan, I could do that over here, but I haven't got the machine. So what I do instead, I add 2 or 3 drops of lemon into my water. Now, by adding 2 to 3 drops of lemon, what the lemon does in the water, it kills the acidity and it makes it pH neutral. It's perfectly great to drink. Must always do that. Listen, I am telling you, as your teacher and as your Kohen, I'm going to live a very, very long life. And you will see that. But the even more important thing, is this, is that if you want to prolong your lives, stop drinking regular milk. Instead, take an alternative. In America, we have so many alternatives. We have coconut milk. We have almond milk. We have some other types of milk. We have powder milk. We have umpteen types of milk over there. So in England as well, in Europe as well. So why complain? Why moan about milk? Milk is just that. Let the cow drink the milk. Let the cow's baby. Are you cow's baby? Are you a buffalo's baby that you're drinking buffalo's milk? You're not. So why are you even touching it? And why are you feeding your baby poison? You know what that textile mill guy said to my student many years ago? He said that he said, why you want to drink poison? He told them that do not drink poison. He said milk is poison. I tell you, that man, right, whoever that man was, that rich man who owned that textile mill, he was a smart man, because he knew 10, 15 years ago, he knew that milk is poison. And if you add poison to your tea, poison equals poison. You can poison yourself slowly. You can poison yourself fast. You know what I did in England? I did not put regular milk in my tea. In England, I use evaporated milk. That's all I had. And in America as well, I also used evaporated milk. I will not put more normally. I will not use regular milk. I just didn't like it. My body didn't like it. My stomach didn't accept it. And even to this day, it doesn't accept it. And when I go to somebody's house over here, if they give you milk, like a regular milk tea, which I just described, which I call fat milk tea. It's just regular milk with just tea flavor. And you know what I tell them? No, thank you. I don't want it. I don't drink it. And then they'll say, okay, we'll make you the other one. I said, no, thank you. I don't want the other one either. I said, if you want to give me tea, then I want tea without milk. Just the brew, nothing else. If you can't do that, I don't want your tea. And they say that people who take that kind of tea over here, they say that that's poor man's tea. I said, well, I'd rather take poor man's tea than dead man's tea. So that's just the way I get. Because I know what the heck is going around me and what's happening to people's health. So again, with those of you suffering from gallstones and blah, blah, blah stones, kidney stones, if you take lemon in your water, even in your Coca-Cola soda, put a couple of drops of lemon, you will never suffer from stones. You will never suffer from stones, ever. But if you don't, then you've got a high chances of suffering from stones. Okay, so this is just by the by. And if those of you are not sure, those of you want further advice, you know where to reach me, and I can assist you with that. Yes, and one other thing that I think that I need to guide you on is that there is a very common perception that you have to use toothpaste with your toothbrush. And here is the second nail in the coffin, that do not use toothpaste. Toothpaste can be highly toxic if you swallow it. Especially in babies, if they swallow it, can be highly toxic. Usually, you will find a label on it that says that on the back. So, what do we do with our teeth? As I explained it to you in my previous lecture, that you must add lemon to your water, and then try and drink that lemon with the straw if you can, so that it doesn't, the acidity of the lemon doesn't touch the teeth. And even if it does, you can go and do a couple of mouthwashes, clear water mouthwashes, and it will take care of it. Now for toothpaste, do not use toothpaste. It is equally good to just use a brush without a toothbrush, and it does the same thing as it does with the toothpaste. However, the toothpaste actually ends up damaging your teeth. It's not good for you, and plus they add fluoride and all that stuff, and that's definitely not good for you either. Now, these things are not just come out of the air. These things have been tested, studied in America and other medicines around the world, and have been notified to various people. But as you know, that because these products are so common in our houses, we ignore them. We tend to forget about them. We tend to continue to go with the status quo. Now, I want to give you a doctor's name. I think it's Dr. I'll have to double check his name. Give me a second. Yeah, Dr. Joseph Nemeth. You can listen to him on YouTube. He talks about not using toothpaste, and he talks about a study in which it was proven that without the toothpaste, if you just use a brush, is as good to clean your teeth. Now, there is Dr. Berg, who is also on the internet. He will also advise you the same thing. And the recommended stuff, in these countries, in India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, they have something called miswak. And miswak comes in different flavors. It comes as in oil of olives. It comes in neem oil. It comes in some other stuff. And it's like a little stick. And you can use that on your teeth. And a lot of people use that on their teeth over here. And for some people it may be inconvenient. It's readily available from most subcontinent Asian stores. And if it's inconvenient, here is the better one for you. The better one for you, and the easiest one that I found, is to get yourself some peppermint oil. Okay, natural peppermint oil. Just need 1 drop on your toothpaste. Just brush that on your teeth. This is good as gold. It is perfect. It does everything that you need on your teeth. Secondly, you can use tea tree oil, but tea tree oil is a little bit more, it's got a little bit more smell. It may be a little bit more harsher, but it also does the same thing. But I think peppermint oil leaves a nice peppermint flavor in your mouth, like doing a chewing gum thing. The third thing that you can do, if you find that neither of the two of those are readily available, then you should use coconut oil. Just dip your brush in coconut oil and just brush your teeth. After each meal, brush your teeth. Now, for your little children, if you have little babies who are growing up, after 8 months, you should start to introduce those children to food, small amounts of food, so they can masticate, they can get used to using their jaw, and they can also get used to breathing through their nose, because children tend to breathe through their mouth, and then they get into bad habit of always using mouth breathing. So if they start to masticate, use their jaw, and they start to breathe through their nose as you introduce food to them, then those children will grow up great with good jaws, good teeth. And teach your children not to use toothpaste, but either dip the little brushes they have in coconut, or maybe 1 drop of peppermint. And even what you can do, if peppermint is too strong, depends on the concentration you're getting. If the concentration is too strong, just take some normal water, add a couple of drops of peppermint in there, and then just dip your brush into that, or have a spray one and just spray it on your brush. Those spray little bottles, and you can add a couple of drops of peppermint in there and just spray it on your brush and just brush that. That will be perfect for your teeth. It will give you a nice smell in your mouth. It will not damage your teeth. It will protect your enamel. And then the only other thing you need, which I found best, which a dentist introduced to me in America 6 years ago, Dr. Helen, who was my dentist, great doctor, she gave me a flosser. She introduced me to the water flosser. And the water flossers are really, really good. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. You can buy them at readily inexpensive. You can buy the travel ones for around $25, $30, even less. You can buy the stand ones in your in your sinks, in your bathrooms for around $50-$60. Even if you go to places like Costco, they sell them. They have them there. And you just fill it up with water. You can, if you like, you don't have to. If you like, you can add a little bit of mouthwash in there, and you can just wash your teeth after each meal. And what you're supposed to do is clean the gaps in your teeth, where food gets stuck. As long as you do that, you are great. You will have great teeth. You will not have cavities. You will not have gingivitis and other problems. So these are the kind of things that you should be aiming to, and these are the kind of things that you should know about. And unfortunately, some of us learned about these things, much, much later after our younger lives. Had we learned about them earlier, we would have avoided cavities. We would have avoided, all these fillings and crowns and things like that. So, a lot of you are still in your, teens, in your 20s, and you're still in good standing to do that. So remember, vitamin C is great for you to take. If you take it separately, it's great for your teeth. Vitamin C, calcium, those kind of things. Vitamin A is great for you. Vitamin A comes from carrots. But like I said, you don't have to eat carrots to bring vitamin A, because all the carrots in the world may not give you enough vitamin A. If you don't have the ability to make carrot juice every day, then sure, you can take capsules with vitamin A. And if you have the ability with a juicer to make carrot juice, then sure, use carrot juice. So you have carrot juice, you have the ability to, like I said, just get a small coconut oil bottle, and a coconut oil should be your essential. You can use that. Coconut oil is absolutely wonderful. It's a miracle oil. You can use that oil on all sorts of things, and it's really, really great. So clean your teeth with coconut, and if you don't have coconut, if you only have a brush, then just brush your teeth after each meal, empty, just with water, and just, gargle your mouth, and you're great to go. You should have absolutely no problem. This advice I'm giving you this is $1 million advice. This is to save you a lot of headache and a lot of hassle and a lot of money that you're going to spend on dentals and dental care. So this is very simple. Go through this recording if you have to. I've given you the name of a couple of doctors on the internet, Dr. Berg and Dr. Joseph, and both doctors will talk about these things, and they'll give you guidance on what is best. And I do agree that what they're telling you is true. But by the way, I've been using these things myself for years now. I've been using a flosser for at least 6 years now. I've been doing my dentist stuff with peppermint and coconut oil for many, many years. I've incorporated it. Sometimes I might use a little toothpaste. Other times I don't care about toothpaste. I just use the coconut oil or peppermint oil. And I found that my teeth, by and large, have been very healthy. When I was in my teens, I always used to get cavities because, eating sweets and not brushing properly, or maybe brushing and it still didn't help me. I used to create cavities. But as I grew up older and I studied and I learned that all these so-called toothpastes are just that. They're just money makers, for companies that sell them. So just another one tidbit for you to incorporate into your life to have healthy and better lives. So with that, over to you, Rabbi Kefa.
Okay, so since Rabbi Kefa has already done his lecture, I'm going to probably wrap up. And yes, Devorah, the fenugreek seeds, you have to wet them in the maybe half a spoon, wet them in half a glass of water overnight, and then try and eat them in the morning. Now you may find some of them might still be hard, because some of them can be real hard. So you may have to blend them. So blend them just to make them softer and drink that water, and that will help you. That will help you for 90 diseases. 90 diseases of your body can be cured with fenugreek seeds. And they range from, my goodness, if I start the list, I'll probably be here for the next 3 hours, and you don't want me here for the next 3 hours. So that's where we are with fenugreek seeds. So, things like blood pressure, diabetes, things like stomach pains, dysentery, all sorts of problems they will cure. So yes, yes, and yes. Now, that is absolutely a great question, Hadassah. Should we eliminate cheese, yogurt, and ice cream from our diet? Now, let me tell you what my dentist told me about ice cream. Let me tell you what she said. She said, I hate the man who created ice cream. Helen is a great doctor. She's no longer practicing in Virginia. She's a great doctor. But she told me, I hate the man who made this ice cream. And she said, stay away from it. So that's the answer that Helen gave me, okay? Dr. Helen's a great doctor. Now, the yogurt, I think yogurt is good for you. It's called curd in this country, and a lot of people eat it in the morning. It is great for your stomach bacteria. Yogurt you can have. Cheese, yes, cheese will definitely have some benefits. Cheese is good for you, but do not mix it with certain meats. Try not to mix it with meat. Try not to mix it with chicken and things like that. And people do. And some people, not all, but some people can get adverse stomach reactions from mixing cheese with meat or with some other meat type products. If you want to eat cheese, then just eat cheese. It's great if you just eat cheese. If you want to eat yogurt, it's great. If you just want to eat yogurt, put water into it, you want to wet it, you want to maybe make a glass of it. Great for your stomach bacteria. Ice cream, well, even if I say don't eat it, a majority of you are going to run to McDonald's and you're going to get your chocolate sundae or your strawberry sundae. So that's for sure. Even I might do that as well. So I might be guilty of that. So it's very difficult to keep off ice cream. But if you do eat ice cream, my dentist's advice was that if you do eat ice cream, that make sure that within 15 minutes, wash your mouth. Make sure you wash your mouth, brush it like I told you, brush it with just your brush, maybe a mouthwash, and that will get rid of the bacteria, the sweetness. So yes, you can eat it, but if you take the proper care. Now for babies, like I did say about the peppermint, do not put straight peppermint out of essential oils for a baby. Be sensible. Mix it into a bottle of water. Take those spray bottles that you get from Walmart easily. You fill that bottle with water from your tap, and then you put your 1 or 2 drops of peppermint in there, and that becomes diluted. Then you can use that for yourself, and you can use that for your baby. It's very safe after that. So if you want to take directly peppermint oil, then for yourself, if you're an adult, yes, that would be fine. If you're a baby, the answer is no. Don't give babies such a strong peppermint. Yes, you can brush with salt. It is good, but try and use sea salt if you want to use salt. Sea salt is great. Don't use regular salt. Don't use that crap that's called sodium chloride. Avoid that. But if you can get sea salt or pink salt, then that is fine. I've given you tons of advice over here. I've given you advice that you can live with you for the rest of your life, and if you follow it through, you should all have longevity of your life. You should all be living for 250 years each. And if you are not, then you're not following the advice. But anyhow, that's where we are. I'd like to give you sound advice that is time tested, and that is great for you. Now, one other thing you can do, which is very easily available in Europe and America, is to get yourself a brush that is made of, what's that substance called? Charcoal brush. Get a black charcoal brush. Now, by the way, that advice came from a doctor in Pakistan to me. So I learned something new, that a charcoal brush is better for you than a regular brush. So yes, get yourself a charcoal brush, and then you can use that with coconut oil or peppermint oil as described. It's a great brush. I would encourage you to remove all toothpaste from your cabinet from forever. Don't touch toothpaste. Instead, do the things I told you, because you will find that your teeth will be healthy, your gums will be healthy, and you will never have a problem again by visiting the dentist for cavities. And by the way, in America, it's very expensive to pay for cavities. You may end up paying $1,000 bill, and a lot of people can't afford that. So there is actually something new out there, and I was going through and doing a little investigation, and I found that in Amazon and some other places you can buy readily available gum that's like a little injector. They give you these little injectors, and it's a special kind of gum that you can actually just clean up your little cavity area yourself. If you haven't got the finances to do it elsewhere, you can inject that gum in there and it seals it good as new, and they say that it will last at least 1 year. Okay, and it's going to cost you next to nothing. It's not going to cost you $1,000. It's not even going to cost you $200. But if you go to a dentist, you can ask a dentist to do that for you. The dentist, I did some investigation with one of my students, and they said, well, the dentist will do it in America. They may charge you anywhere between $200 to $350. That's the dentist side, right? Because what the dentist will do, they'll probably clean your teeth and maybe drill it a little bit, maybe make a hole a little bit bigger, and then they'll add that gummy thing into there. And they will also, clean it up nicely, but they'll charge you $350. If you're able to afford $350, be my guest, go to the dentist. But if you're one of those guys who says, well, $350 is too much, I can probably sacrifice a lamb for that, then sure, you got alternatives. I'm giving you plenty of alternatives. Look, I've been a military man as well. And, they teach us to survive in the military. And so, therefore, we're talking about survival over here for some people. And, use your money, use your money wisely and use it properly for your health, for your benefits. And it's great. And if you got a good dental care, if you already have insurances paid, or maybe your jobs are paying insurances for you, then sure, go to the dentist and don't take the mercury fillings. Ask the dentist to give you that new kind of filling, which is the gum, which looks very plain, but it's very hard, and it lasts a while. So that's basically that. And if you guys want to have a brand new 32 teeth, and you got lots of money on your hand, you got $10,000 in your pocket, and you want to have nice brand new teeth, sure, I'll give you the address. I'll give you a clinic that you can go to in Slovakia, and you can get some beautiful implants with zirconium crowns, and they will last you a nice long time as well. And if you're that way inclined, sure, no problem. That can happen as well. So I'm here to help you. It's up to you what you want to do with it. But what I told you, make a covenant with God. Today is the day. Make your covenant with God and do what is right. And stop these shortcuts. Stop these shortcuts and corner cutting and, I'd rather buy this piece of land first, or let me repair my car first. Stop cutting corners. And God will not cut corners with you either. Okay, with that, I'm going to close the class. Have a great and wonderful Shabbat. Until next time, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom, Shalom.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom, Mishpachah. Again, welcome all family, friends, loved ones to the room. I wish, my desire is that you all have a great Shabbat going forward and a great 6 days of labor ahead, and also to look at what happened in the past. This is why we have this awesome Torah that was authored by Musa, by Moses, by Moshe, so that we can look back at the past and do what? Look back, and we should be doing what? We should be learning, right? We should look back and we should learn so that we can make better decisions or replicate the decisions and the processes that happened before us in the past. How many of you will agree with that? The question that goes forward a lot is, why are we here? What is life all about? And every human being asks that question at one time or another to themselves. It's like, why am I here? What is my purpose? What does God want me to do? That's an important question that a lot of folks ask themselves. They may not ask somebody else, but they will ask themselves that question as they delve and begin to open the doors to self, believe it or not. Is that they'll begin to ask themselves these important questions. And one of the things that I have noticed is that life, as a couple of friends of mine had some friends of theirs that actually passed this week. They were very young, in their 20s. And, and consoling them and actually just being there for them and listening to a talk. They really didn't want to talk that much, but I did kind of want to impart some understanding about the circle of life. Because we understand that the Torah is life, right? We all get that. but a lot of folks don't. A lot of folks don't have the what they call the Bible to cling to and to go to for counsel. They don't have that. They may have a preacher or a teacher or a pastor, but what are they doing for them? Nothing. So when something goes wrong, they don't go to their preacher. They don't talk to their pastor. They definitely don't talk to the priest, because the priest is going to run them to the Hail Marys and the Our Father prayers, and the priest's going to run you to the rosary beads real quick. You know what I mean? And I'm talking from experience, because I was an altar boy, and I did do the catechism thing, and I was a Catholic at one time. Any other Catholics in the room at one time? So it's important that we understand that. No other Catholics? Okay, yeah, there was a couple other Catholics as well. So you all understand that experience as well. So when we look at life, we look at life and how life, and they kept telling me, man, his life was just cut so short. It's like, he didn't even get to, do this, that, the other, and the third. Never married, didn't even have any children. And I'm like, wow. But a lot of folks just don't understand is that how many of you, when you look at the Bible, you can actually see the fact that there is a recycling or rebirth. What I'm saying is, some folks call it different names. Some folks say that that you can be what's the Indians say this? Oh yeah, reincarnation. How many of you see reincarnation in the Bible? Anybody see it? I mean, it's really, put up an R if you can really see reincarnation in the Bible. You can see a repeat. Shabbat shalom to you, Brother Davis. But you can actually see that life repeats itself. My father used to tell me this all the time. Yeah, man, he's hanging on to them bell bottoms, Brother Davis. And I'm like, man, Pop, why you got all these bell bottoms in the closet? He said, so, because, son, they're going to come back in style one day. And sure enough, bell bottoms did come back in style. Butterfly collar, I've seen that come back as well. You know what I'm talking about? So there's some people call it reincarnation, or, you can repeat, you come back. I do believe that. And I don't understand why Christians don't believe that, because guess who they waiting on? They waiting on Jesus to come back. Think about this for a minute. Aren't they waiting on Jesus to come back? Think about it. The Jews are waiting on Mashiach. The Christians and the Catholics are actually waiting on Jesus to come back. Think about that for a minute. What is that? Is that not reincarnation, or coming back to repeat a life? Think about that for a minute. So a lot of folks, they down stuff that they really don't understand. They sit there and say, oh, there's the devil, reincarnation and, life. You only have one life. I totally disagree with that. Respectfully. I totally disagree with the fact that you only have one life. All of you who have had loved ones, friends, family members that have passed on, believe me, I'm telling you right now, they will have another life, and another life, and another life, and another life. And maybe even some of you in this room have experienced, I would call it a regressive type state, to where you feel an urge to want to be or do something. You know what I mean? Like, you felt like some people call it, you have deja vu moments, to where you feel like, hey, I've seen this before. I've kind of like done this before. Or anybody ever have those deja vu? Put up a J for deja vu. Anybody ever the deja vu moments where you say, man, this may seem kind of strange, but I feel like I was doing this before at one time or another, and I'm kind of repeating this. Shabbat shalom to you, Nehemiah. And I'm kind of repeating this again. To for your responses. You see, all of these things have a rhyme and a reason and a purpose. Rhyme and a reason and a purpose. But what I want to talk about today, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go forward with my lecture. Hakohen's coming in live, and then he's going to come in and hit the home run, Baruch Hashem. But what I want us to focus on this day, to for your responses, by the way. What I want to focus on this day is several things, but one of the key things is that life is about lessons. Learn the lessons of life and you will be successful. if you learn the lessons of life and you begin to act, not react, but act in a maybe different way, or maybe even in the same way, to making a decision, then you will even be and propel yourself to be more successful than your ancestors were, or than you were the last time you had this experience come up. How many of you will agree with that? Some of you, including myself, we've been married several times. Put up put up an M if you've been married several times. You're married and divorced, married and divorced, married and divorced. Anybody? Me, I'll put up a M real quick. I'll tell you, I am so grateful for those experiences that I went through in marriage with each one of the wives that I was married to. Everybody talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. Yeah, that's all chalked up in experience, and that's all chalked up in life in general, because that's what you're going to get in life. You're going to gain experience. Good, the bad, and the ugly. Shabbat shalom to you, JoJo dancer. Welcome to the room. So it's very, very important for us to understand that, put religion to the side. Matter of fact, run away from religion and understand that your very existence is about life and how you're going to live your life and how you're going to learn, because life is about learning. And if you're not learning, then you're not discerning, and you're just going through the motions like we're told in our holy books that you're just like sheep led to the slaughter, then, I mean, what is it? A lot of folks, I see this in the geriatrics. I see this as a time. I remember, training as a nurse, we had to go through all these different classes of patients, of clients. And one of the types was the geriatrics, which they call like the wise people. Those, like we're told in our holy books, that are well in age, Baruch Hashem. Those that are well in age. And a lot of them reflect on their life and they say this. They say, oh, I sure did waste my life. Because they have a lot of time. They sit in these, particular homes that they put them in, or, maybe they live by themselves and the partner passed on. And they're like, so they do a lot of reflection in their, well in age periods of their life. And they're like, I really didn't do anything in this life. Did they analyze themselves? Because they have time to. Don't wait to that point to start analyzing yourself. Let's start analyzing ourselves now. You can begin to assess yourself now. But they sit there and they judge their life, and that's perfectly fine to do that. How many of you are judges of your life? You need to be. Put up a capital J for the judges of your life. You need to judge your life. You need to assess don't let nobody else do it. But you need to assess your life. You need to judge your life and see where you can make improvements and see where you can get better and see why. Because it's going to propel and help you leave a legacy for the next generation that's coming up from your lineage, from your loins, Baruch Hashem. This is important stuff for Israel that's waking up. Israel that's quote unquote woke. Tada for your responses, by the way. For Israel that is woke and is woken up and is awakened out of the slumber. You awaken, and like I say all the time, we wake up to do what? Go back to sleep again? Yah forbid. We don't wake up to go back to sleep. We wake up with a purpose. We should have one. So the two things that I want to talk about today, what's that book? It was a great book. I kind of fumbled through it and kind of sped read through it. Was a Purpose-Driven Life. It's an interesting book. It has some great nuggets in it. I wouldn't call them golden nuggets, but there's some nuggets. You can get nuggets from anybody, right? People, plants, and pets, you can get nuggets from. But I want those golden nuggets, those treasures, you know what I mean? That I will hang on to and guard and keep. And that's what I find with our way of life. And that's one thing I want to talk about. The two things that I want to talk about today is I want to talk about life, and then I want to talk about history. History is very important. You see, when Israel wakes up, that's step one. We get up, we wake up, and it's important. Because if you sit and analyze all the civilizations, all of the all of the particular classes, they have and should know their history. But when Israel wakes up, Israel, and this is one of the reasons why we need to be grateful to the Most High for the servant, the likeness of of Moses that he's put in our gate today in 2022 in HaKohim. Because as I assess my situation and my experiences is when I came into the knowledge, the first book of who I am, the first book that was put into my hand, or the first book that I purchased and circulated monies for was the Hidden Truth Hebraic Scrolls. At that time, it was called the Abrahamic-Faith Bible back in the day. Rabbi Zakari would be able to tell you back in the day. So, and why was that important? Why was that important? So that I could begin as a Hebrew, knowing who I am, to learn my history. You see, because when you go to the schoolhouse, do they teach you your history? No, they teach you about whose history? About America's history, right? How many of you learned America's history? Put up an A. Or about Paris's history, right, Oliver? You go to school. Or about Lion King, Lion Princess, you get what? You get UK's history, right? And let's just say, let's just be fair. Can we say that the history that we're being taught is 100% true? Is 100% fact? Because they ain't going to tell you it's true. You'll get truth anywhere. You can go on YouTube right now and you can find all the truth that you need. You know what I mean? You can find all the truth that you need on YouTube. But are they giving you the factual history? You see? And that's important because I know it's important to me if I want to know who I am. You know what I mean? If I want to know who I am, I don't want to know, okay, I don't need fake history. It'd be like, okay, now you know who you are. Now, it'd be like, your mother and your birth mother and your birth father. It'd be like them telling you, okay, these two people are not your birth mother and birth father. Yet you know, and there's evidence, birth certificates, pictures when you was a baby, of these two people being in your life from the very beginning. But yet, they'll tell you, no, these two people are not your mother and your father. You get where I'm going? You see what I mean? So when we look at history, history will do the same thing to you. History will bend and curve their particular way they want to teach you to help you fit their particular agenda. But the only agenda that you need to be concerned about today is your agenda. You don't need the curves. Like the master Yeshua, Yeshua ben Yosef, what did he say? He say, the straight path. He talking about no curves, right? He said, narrow and straight is the way, Baruch Hashem. And few that's going to find it, I'm paraphrasing. But the way, what is this way? This way of life. So if I want to understand this way of life, then I need to be able to understand what? My history. The history of our way of life. That's where that Abrahamic-Faith Bible comes in. Those Hidden Truth Hebraic Scrolls. Rabbi Zakari will tell you, I bet you his socks was blown off when he got that first copy of the Abrahamic-Faith Bible. It just totally blew him away. He's like a child. He just began to absorb, he began to take the milk of his history now. And there's nothing like it. There's no comfort in the world than knowing who you are and where you come from. And, more importantly, where you're going. You see? That's one thing that differs between the Hebrew history and all the other histories out there. The history of the Romans, the history of the Catholics, the history of the Baptists. You see, these are all, when you put them up next to, our history, the history of the Hebrews, these are all like pretty current histories, right? But when you look at the history of the Hebrews, it's a rich, deep history that goes way back. Way, way back. Goes way, way back. It's recorded. You see, we see lineages of this father begetting that father, and that father begetting that father. You see the importance and relevance of it now? It's to keep the history flowing. And to keep the history, another word, a F word, is to keep the history factual. So I would encourage you all going forward this day, going forward, like I said, we go forward, but for the Hebrew to go forward, we look back. And another thing that's important with the Hebrew history that differs from all the other histories out there, the history of the Indians, the Red Indians, the history of, and I don't want to offend you if you don't want to be called Red. Let me call you the Native Americans, because you native to this land, Baruch Hashem. You was here before Columbus, but they don't, they trying to wipe that history out of y'all. Again, the history of things. You see, again, we got to get to the meat and potatoes of it so we can stand upright as upright men and women, knowing who we are and not standing upright on sinking sand. Because what happens when you build your foundation on sinking sand? You're going to sink. Water's going to come, and you're not going to be able to move. You're going to be stuck in the mud. I don't want any of us stuck in the mud. We need to understand and know the facts. That's why all the books that have been published by our Kohen, Rabbi Simon Altab, the Kohen in the Gate, the Kohen that's here for all, but more importantly, that's here for what? Here for Israel. That's his number one here. He's here for Israel. Now, he's here to help anybody else that wants to be helped. He'll help you. But who's he here for? He's here for Israel. Anybody recall Yeshua ben Yosef saying something very similar? He said, how many of you remember what he said? He said, I'm here for, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, I'm here for what? The scattered sheep of the house of Israel. That's who he's here for. You see, because during Yeshua ben Yosef's time, who they call Jesus, there had been a total shift in who the people of the books were and who the people of the books looked like. Do you all understand that? Like, what was black and brown at one time is now white. I'm not being racial. I'm pointing this out. Like there had been a total shift. Just like Noah had prophesied. A total shift. That Japheth would be deceived and he would dwell in the tents or in the house of Shem. Wow. And that's one thing that's so brilliant about our history is it don't only tell us, and we can learn from the past, but it helps us walk in the way because we already know our future. What other history does that? Isn't that beautiful? What other history gives you their future? That's beautiful. This is why the master talked about that way. Straight and narrow is the way. And few that's going to find it. See, and we're to, I'm going to put some more W's in here. We're to what? We're to walk a certain way. And if you walk that way, then you're already, you literally, you and I, family, boy, I'm getting goosebumps. You and I are actually today walking in the future. Think about that for a minute. Your walk, your way is that of the future. Why? Because our future's already laid out for us. Someone texted me this week talking about redemption. We already redeemed. But that's in the future. No, you redeemed right now. For the Christians, they waiting on redemption. You see, the Catholics are waiting, doing all these Hail Marys on the rosary, waiting on the Savior to do something for them on the back end, in the future. Do you see the difference in our history than all the other histories of civilization? Our history is already laid out for us in the future. Who else has that? Can anybody tell me? I would argue anybody else to tell me, that, okay, I already know what's going to happen to me already. The Christians, they're anticipating a future, but it's still up in the air. How many of you are Christians at one time? And you understand, you were just as confused and just as scared. You were fearful. It was like, because here was your question, Christians. am I going to go to hell? That was your question. Am I going to go to hell? I'm doing all this stuff, and you're thinking, how many of you thought like that as a Christian? Am I going to make it into heaven? Or were you actually thinking, man, am I going to go to hell? I'm doing all this. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm trying to be good, but am I going to go to hell? Or was it the reverse question? Well, look, am I going to make it into heaven? Am I going to, is St. Peter going to open the pearly gate for me and let me come in? You know what I mean? So there's still a lot of doubt and anxiety and fear behind their future. And that's what religion will do to you. It'll keep you in fear and doubt. But this day, I'm going to encourage you, as a student of the Kohen, Rabbi Simon Altab, Rabbi Kefa is telling you right now, have no fear. You know your future. Israel, you should be dancing like David right now. You should all be like the JoJo dancer, baby. Because you don't have to fear the future. You already know it. It's already laid out. And it's been given to you in a book. My goodness. But look, it's a book that only few, vive la France, Oliver, that only few can understand. You see, how many of you understand? Okay, we understand you got the Holy Quran out there, you got the Holy Bible, you got the Torah, you got the Catholic Bible with all their additions and books that they've added to it. You got all these religions taking away and adding certain books and blah, blah, blah to whatever they want to do. You know, their motivations, right? But at the end of the day, all of these books and even the Torah itself it's a roadmap. See it like a map. Now, all those books that I just named off, and you may know some other books that are out there, but all those books that I just named off, how many of those books you can take that roadmap and it'll take you from the beginning and it'll show you and take you to the end destination and it'll fill you in with all the details? Anybody? What other history that's been recorded would do that? Think about it for a minute. Boy, the powers of powers. The powers of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What a great legacy they left for the children, for their generations to come. Abraham was promised this by the Most High. And is his promise not being carried out to this day? It absolutely is. Of course, we understand that all religions claim Abraham. Am I correct? I'm telling you. The Catholics say Abraham is their father. The Christians definitely say Abraham is their father. But again, Muslims say Abraham is their father. Only people probably saying Abraham is not their father is atheists. You see, that's my wife. You know, that's what that's the seed that she comes out of. You see, in China, their majority of them don't believe in no God, so they don't even say Abraham is their father. You know what I mean? The atheists in China, well, it may be communist countries as well. I don't know if all communist countries, tend to get their people to have that kind of ideology. Yet, at the same time, I say that, I've eaten at Muslim restaurants in China. Many, many Muslim restaurants. There's a lot of Muslims in China, by the way. A lot of Muslims. But the government stance is, look, we don't believe in nothing. You know what I mean? And, you can take this as you want. That's a good place to come from. Just because you wash, you got a clean slate. You're not carrying all this baggage from Christianity, Catholicism, and whatever else you've been into. Pentecostals wearing them dresses and everything, and no makeup, all that. You come and just clean slate. You know what I mean? But what my wife has seen is she's seen the power of the God of Israel in the doings. And this is what I ask all these religions as we put them up next to each other is what can your religion do for me? What can you do? This is why I ran out of Catholicism. This is why I ran out of Christianity, because these religions couldn't do anything for me. Only when I came under the umbrella of the Torah of Moses then that the doing started to happen. Why? It's because I embraced that history as mine. And that's very important to do. This is why when Israel wakes up, they have to go back to their history, not nobody else's history, not bring in partial history, this, that, that. You can't do that. That's not just, that's not right, and that's not fair. A lot of folks want to get out here, they get a little bit of our history, and you all seen it, and they want to get out here, and now they become the great teachers of our history. They know everything about our history. They can tell you about our history up, down, front, and center, and they don't know. They have no clue. And actually, if I can be politically correct, they're just, they're misteaching. They're misteaching our history. Some of them are doing it just ignorantly. They don't know any better. But you have to guard yourself against doing that. Life is about lessons. But it's about how we learn those lessons and who do we listen to. And we have to take everything about to our history. Who does our history tell us in our history who we're supposed to listen to? Any Joe blog on YouTube that just want to say they're a Hebrew Israelite and begin teaching you, okay, this is what we're supposed to do. We already have the past, the present, the future is all now for us as the people of the books. Baruch Hashem. And that's beautiful. Worry is not in my vocabulary. Ohio 5. It's just not in my vocabulary, Oliver. I don't worry. And I don't fear anything. I don't fear nothing. Just like Yeshua ben Yosef said, fear not. Listen, I walk in all these hospitals and they talking about plague, this, that, the other, and the third. I don't fear anything. I'm not scared of no corona or any of its little variants. I don't fear that. And that's probably why I haven't picked it up yet. Because corona can't touch me. And it won't. It will never touch me. And I'm telling you, I'm front lines in there with it. But it's not going to touch me. It's not going to touch my wife. And it's not going to touch my son. It's not going to touch us. You can play your song now, MC Hammer. It's not going to touch us. It's just not. You see, I don't fear. And this is the type of mentality, womantality we need to have as the people of the books. You know why it's not going to touch me? Because I know my history. And my history says I'm the head, not the tail. And none of those plagues. No, you think it's the first time you think this is our first go round with plagues? Come on now. Let me give y'all some wisdom. It was plagues that rescued us. We coming up on the Passover, Oliver. And guess what? It was plagues that rescued us. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know my history. How many of you with me? Y'all should be dancing like, think about what I just said. Thank you, Mhokma, for that. It was plagues that rescued us. And everybody scared of plagues? I'm not scared of no plagues. Y'all with me this morning? Baruch Hashem. I'm not scared of nobody's plague. That's where my rescue's in there. It's built in. I'm a Hebrew. What you gonna tell me about somebody's plague? Oh, hey, they got this new variant coming out. Let's go. I can give us a flying fluke. Why? It's because I know the facts, Lion King. Right, Nehemiah? We know the facts. And guess what happens when you know the facts? You're freed. So this is your barometer to let you know if the history is factual. Because if the history is factual, your personification, your physical representation, your feeling will be free. Rabbi's question, I've been dancing like David since COVID to rap. Right on, brother, from the same mother. And that's what it needs to be. I mean, they don't, because you know why? We know who we are. JoJo Dancer. I know who I am. So what do I know the future, I know the past, and I'm living in the now. Baruch Hashem. Now, how do I want to live in that now? Our holy books tell us that when you know truth, truth will do what? Free you. Right? That's what we're told. Or like the Baptists like to say, the truth will set you free, brother. And they dancing and shaking like snakes. You know what I mean? The truth will set you free. I can see it right now. The truth will set you free. They're sweating and all that. Some of them falling out on the floor. You know how they do it back in the day. Y'all know. And if you're not falling out, believe me, the ministers and them assistants, they're trying to push you down and then drape you with a little sheet over you and stuff. What is all that, man? But again, the truth will free you. And then you leave from there, and then you're blank and you're left with nothing. Yeah, it has some nice little emotions going on in there and good feeling, but then when you leave the building, the feeling is gone. What is that? And this is where I come into the understanding of, look, I don't feel like I'm free. So I left Hagee's church. I left Catholicism. I left Christianity. Why? Because I didn't feel free, Oliver. I didn't feel free. I didn't feel free. You all with me? And so this is why history is so important. Because when we get the facts, and this is why, man, Hakohen, man, I tell you, I can't say enough about the man. I'm so indebted to that man. Why? Is because he brought freedom to me in the form of a book. And not only did he bring freedom, because, you can read a book any kind of way you want, but then he began to open up and began to teach, and he began to open my eyes on facts. Nehemiah likes to say big facts all the time. He began to open up to the facts. That's all it is. It's all about just the facts. That's all. Because I'm going to tell you, the Hebrews during the time of Yeshua ben Yosef was different than the Hebrews that Moses took out of Egypt. Way different. I want you to understand that. They looked different. They had different traditions. This is why they couldn't mix with Yeshua ben Yosef. And they didn't like Yeshua ben Yosef. I want you all to understand that. This is totally the reason why. And I want you to look at the confrontations between what the New Testament calls the Jews and Yeshua ben Yosef. And look at what Yeshua ben Yosef, just look at analyze and assess what Yeshua ben Yosef would talk to him about. And he said, I come not because, I come not, but for what? For the lost sheep of Israel. That's who he came for. He didn't come for those people. I want you all to see that. But more importantly, just go read what the so-called Jesus said to the so-called Jews. Now, let's just state the facts from what we know of that history, according to what was written in those New Testament writings. Was Jesus an enemy to the so-called Jews? Was he an enemy? Think about that for a minute. Jesus was ducking and dodging. He was hiding from those particular Jews. They had a hit out on him. They wanted to take him out. Think about that for a minute. They had a hit out on Jesus. Oh no, the Jews would never do that to Jesus. Oh yes, they did. Not only did they do that, they killed him. You know what I mean? They got him. They had a hit out on him. Ooh-wee, Mishpahah. I've had a great lesson on that experience in my life. Because when I first came into the knowledge of the truth, the first place I ran to? I ran to a synagogue here in San Antonio. And just like they rejected Yeshua ben Yosef, they rejected me too. You know what that rabbi told me? He said, sir, you don't belong here. He said, oh, are you here for the trash? It's in the back. I was like, what the hell? I said, no, I came to pay homage to Hashem, Adonai, Elohim. He said, no. You don't belong here. He said it just like that. You don't belong here. And boy, was he right. Big facts, Nehemiah. Big facts. He was right. I don't belong there. And they were saying the same thing Yeshua ben Yosef. You don't belong here. You don't belong here. You're not one of us. Why? It's because the Hebrews had changed nature. They even had changed their color during the time of Yeshua ben Yosef. How many of you understand that Yeshua ben Yosef was a man of color? How many of you get that? How many of you understand that history, that Yeshua ben Yosef was a man of color? Come on now. We gotta state the facts here. So now do you understand why the Jews of that time wanted him taken out? I can tell you, man, that rabbi, he wasn't very nice to me either. Just by the way he talked. Oh, you don't belong here. And then he got the nerve, Rabbi Zachariah, to tell me, hey, the trash is in the back. What does that mean, Lion Princess? The trash is in the back. What does that mean? Oh, you just some old goyim. You're a dog. That's the way they see us. Do you not think that's the way they saw Yeshua ben Yosef? Rabbi Zachariah, what is he trying to tell? What is he insinuating? The trash is in the back. I mean, come on now. Oh, you guys are just the dogs. What does dogs do? They go through the trash, right? They go through the rubbish, try to find something to eat. They're going to go through the rubbish. You get where I'm going here? So, understand this. You see, you got to get the real history. This was not black on black crime. This was white on black crime. And they didn't want to accept that. They didn't want to accept it. Just like they didn't want to accept me. Why? It's because I'm one of those, and I'm one of those that know my history. And when you know your history, that's powerful. How many of you understand that? Knowing your history. You see, they think we all dumbed down, but what did I tell you all earlier? Israel is waking up. We know our history now. All thanks and praise be to HaKohen Rabbi Simon Altaf. I know my history. And guess what, Brother Davis? People are scared of that. People are scared of that. Hadassah Gray says it's liberating. It sure is. But guess what? It puts the fear of Hashem in other folks. You know, I went to Israel with HaKohen. And guess what? We get this from the people in Israel. It's like, is it y'all's time to come back already? I'm like, no, we just visiting. But people get back and say, is it time for y'all to come back? The Jews of this time, they know. Annie's, they know. They know. They're like, hey, is it y'all's time to come back yet? Now, does that sound familiar to what we read in our holy books when Yeshua ben Yosef, he and that woman, y'all remember that woman? He's casting the demons out of the woman. Can anybody tell me what those demons said? What did some of those demons say when they come out? What did they say? Anybody read the New Testament and you read that? What did those demons say that Yeshua ben Yosef was casting out that woman? What did they say? One of them said this, is it not your time? He said something to that effect, didn't he? Didn't he said, you coming before your time now. Wait a minute now. It's not your time. Yeah, right, Lion Princess. You remember reading that? Isn't that something? You all are historic people with a rich history. We are historic people with a rich history. And your biggest weapon that you're going to have in your arsenal in this life is going to be you knowing your history. Because then you're free. I remember telling myself, when I came in contact with our Kohen, I told him just like, I didn't tell him, but I was telling myself, I was like, wow. I said it like this. I said it to myself. I said, you know what? I'm home. I said it just like that, JoJo Dancer. I said, I'm home now. I've been in all these religions. I tell you, my father, he started rest in peace, Pop. I love you. He started it. You know what he did? I'm from the South. I'm from the South, raised in the South here in North America. And my father had 12 brothers and sisters. And my grandmother and my grandfather, they worked in Louisiana on what you would call a sharecropper's plantation. And so they would work for food and meat. Wasn't quote unquote slavery, but they was working. And so my father didn't like that kind of work. So what did he do? He wanted to find an out. So what did he do? He was in the South, but he went up north to Chicago and joined a seminary. Boy, I tell you, my pop, he could have wrote a book on this, but he went and joined a seminary so that would prevent him from having to go and work in those fields. Think about that for a minute. Now, how many of you know seminary, that's Catholics? Now, seminary, you go there because they want to teach you how to become a what? A priest for the Catholic religion. Now, if you know anything about the Catholic history, you'll understand at one time the Catholic priest could marry and beget children. How many of you know that history? That Oliver, you probably know this history is deep. You know, I think France is rooted in Catholicism. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think France is just like Catholicism is their national religion. If I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong. But so to Oliver. So at one time or another in the history of Catholicism, the priesthood of the Catholics could actually marry and beget children. But unfortunately, when my pop got up there, up to Chicago in that seminary, and they told him that he couldn't beget any children, there was not going to be no knocking the boots, there was not going to be no under the sheets, there was not going to be let's get it on. He literally broke out of the seminary and went back down south. That's what he literally did. And that started the path for me. Because what? My father didn't see no freedom. If my father wouldn't have done that, guess what? Rabbi Kefa wouldn't be here today. Do you see the big giant picture? Because you're supposed to abstain from knocking the boots. You can't get under the sheets. And what does that do? Unfortunately, it takes the nature. They try to take the nature out of man, and you can't take the nature out of man. And what do we see happen there? We see all kind of problems happen there with the Catholic religion and them having to pay all kind of money out. Now, pray tell, does anybody know the history of why the Catholics stopped the priest from marrying and begetting children? Anybody know the reason why? Anybody know that history? Because I was a Catholic, man. I studied this shit. Did anybody know that history of why they did this? Why did they do that? Anybody? No, you don't know? Let me tell you why Rome, Mother Rome, why she wanted to do this. And you know what? It all comes down to this, and I'm going to text this in right now. I'm going to put this in. You're going to be like, wow, Rabbi Kefa, I should have known that. It all comes down to this. You with me now? Because get this. When these priests start begetting children and marrying, guess what that takes from from Mother Rome? That requires circulation of money. You see where I'm going now? You see, so they got smart. you see where I'm going now? So they said, wait a minute. We having to give out all these resources to take care of this priest and his family and move them all and got to get him a house. He got like 4 or 5 children and there's mouths to feed. So for Mother Rome to keep more of the money, we have to say no to marriage. so that we can keep more of the money for ourselves. How many of you see this? Brilliant strategy, isn't it? But it's a history that they don't want to teach you. Brilliant strategy. But is that worse than, what Pharaoh did to the Hebrew male children? It's the same thing, just done in a different way. You understand what I'm saying? So, and get this. Let me show you how karma came back and bit them in the butt, the Catholics. So then, the Catholic priests couldn't marry, so then guess what they start doing? Messing with the little altar boys. Anybody have read or heard any of the stories that's been going on? And then guess what that caused? That caused the Catholic Church to be getting into some legal matters, right? Now the Catholic Church is having to pay out all kind of money. Legal bills, civil lawsuits. Y'all with me? And this is what happened. All because, number one, they were trying to save that almighty dollar for themselves. And again, look at what they did. Trying to curtail and change and alter nature. We're told in our holy books that we're to go forth, be fruitful, and multiply the earth. Didn't say anything in there about subtracting, did it? Didn't say anything about subtracting. Adelia said they've been having under children. Yes, they have as well. All kind of stories coming out now. The real history, the big facts, Nehemiah. Sleeping with the nuns getting pregnant, burying the babies, killing them and burying them under the convents and all that. All that's coming out. Why? It's because man tries to curtail, tries to change nature. You can't do that. Nature gonna be nature. If the holy books say, go forth, be fruitful, and multiply the earth, man, then man better get on doing that, because that's a what? That's a universal law. Universal principle. That's perfect law. So now you're trying to make perfect law unperfect. Y'all forbid. So you see where we're going with this? So yeah, back to my father. So yeah, he goes back down south. And he commenced to beget. And he begat 5 children, Baruch Hashem. And here I am today, the oldest of those 5. You see what I mean? And I commenced to beget. And now I have my son Nachshon, 2 years old, in all his glory, Baruch Hashem. And the cycle will continue because we understand. We understand that we must multiply, not subtract, not divide. We're multipliers. We have to look at the bigger picture. This is why it's very important that we understand history. My father was not free in that particular seminary. He realized, I'm not free here. So what did he do? And ever since then, he's been hopping and skipping. I mean, he took us from church to church, from this religion to that religion. Did he find his freedom? In the end of his life, he wasn't going to nobody's church. Can I say he found his freedom? Well, I don't know. I can't answer that question. But guess what he did, Brother Davis? He passed the baton on to his older son. Go get freedom. Look at the experiences that we went through. Look at where I took you, from the seminary to the Catholic Church, to the Christian denominations, the non-denominations, to the Baptists. I took you through all of that. Here, now it's time for me to pass the baton on to you. Get freedom. Leave a legacy of freedom for your sons and your sons' sons going forward. And I have found that freedom. This is why I tell you, I am home. That's why I tell myself that. Because I know I'm home now. I'm free. Corona can't shake me. And the man won't break me. Baruch Hashem. You see what I mean? This is history. This is my history. This is your history. But we have to understand it. And we have to be taught our history properly, you see? And if we're not taught our history properly, then we're selling ourselves short. None of us want to miss freedom. We come into this world free. Come into this world fighting. We come into this world learning how to do what? The first lesson that you come into this world learning how to do is learning how to suck on that breast, right? You better get on that breast. The first thing I did with Nakshan, they took Nakshan. You know, I did my little, chest to chest time with him. They gave him to me and put him on my chest. Oh my goodness. Changed my life, Miss Rob. Then they brought him to my wife and she put him on her, put him right on her breast. And boy, Nakshan, first lesson he learned. First lesson all of you learned. You come out want to suck on that breast. You need to be nurtured, right? You need to be nurtured. Israel is waking up and we're looking for that breast. I'm not telling you to go suck on Akoi's breast. No, I'm not saying that. But we need to get connected to the good milk. And not this phony baloney stuff out there. Or this milk, like Akoi talked about last Shabbat in this lecture. You see, this milk that's gonna contaminate you and do harm to your body. We've been through all of that. Don't look at those experiences in the past as failures. No, you chalk it up as experience and as wisdom so you don't make the same mistake going forward in your decision-making processes. Baruch Hashem. Brother David saying, Rabbi Kefa, your mind is free. Oh, indeed it is. And when your mind is free, you can operate you're on a different level. You're on a different level. I can talk to individuals and it's like they understand me, but they're like, man, why you think you're supposed to think like, no, I'm not, because I'm free. I'm free. Why? Because I got the facts and I understand the truths out there. But I got the facts of who I am. History. Still learning. I'm going to continue to learn. I'm a student of the facts. And I'm a student of history. This is why it's important that we study all these different histories out here. You study them. This will help you understand the nature of humanity. Oh, this is why y'all act this way. This is why y'all do that. Oh, this is why you do this. This is why you do this. I see. I get it. I'm not going to hold it against you. But I'm free. And if you want to taste of freedom, come over here with me. Come on, have a seat. Come on, let's reason together, you and I. Come on, let's sit down together. Come on, let's break bread together. Baruch Hashem. My 2-year-old son, Nakshan, he's walking in freedom. And every day I tell him, Nakshan, you're a Hebrew. Nakshan, he's 2 years old. He just, whatever. But yeah, every day it's fed in him. I didn't get spoon fed like this. I wasn't getting this kind of milk. Nakshan, you're a Hebrew. Nakshan, you're a Hebrew. Nakshan, you can do anything you want. Nakshan, you can have anything that you want. What do you want, Nakshan? What do you want? Go get it, son. Go get it. This is the way we got to prepare our children for the next generation. Israel, we're waking up. And from here going forward, my legacy is freedom for my sons and my sons' sons and their sons and their sons' sons. Baruch Hashem. They can't take our history from us. They tried. They tried to manipulate our history and say, and I'm not being prejudiced, but they were saying what was black is now white and what was white is now black and blah, blah. No, you can't fool me anymore. I know who I am. You know, there are many different areas and facets that can assist you in really finding out the true facts. Archaeology, science can. History can. Even though it's tainted in some ways, but history can as well. You can't deny the Atlantic slave trade, just like you cannot deny the Holocaust, right? You can't deny these things. You can't deny the Atlantic slave trade. You can't deny, when you look at America today, come on, let's just be real. America's wealth today was built on the backs of blacks and browns. America's wealth, when you look at history and how America came up, my goodness, What does that say? What does that say, Mishpah? It says a lot. You don't have to look down. Look up. Men and women of color here in North America. Look up. You're marvelous people. You're wonderful people. Don't let nobody tell you. You see, this is what happens when you're not free. Is that you tend to lean to whatever opinion or whatever commentaries coming your way. And it has an effect on you. And it affects your feelings. And when your feelings are all messed up, you cannot walk in faith. You only walk by sight, by what you see. You can't walk in faith. And you only walk by what you see with your eyes. And you see Corona killing all these people, and you hear that Corona's killing all these people. And that's what you believe. Because you cannot walk in faith. You have none. Because you're not free. You're not a free thinker. You think what everybody else thinks. You think what the media is telling you. You think this, that, the think. So you're fearful of this. I don't know about you, Eddies, but, this week when Putin went in and invaded Ukraine, boy, I sure made a lot of money. I made me a good bit of money in the stock market, boy. I don't know about you. Eddies, but, yeah, I did get a pretty penny off of that. Yeah. So, but I tell you this, you look at this whole situation, and they're starting to paint Putin as this man, that man, the other man, and all this. But let me tell you something. One of my mentors, his wife is Ukrainian. Let me tell you this. This is, he told me this other day. He was like, look, I'm gonna tell you this. He's like, yeah, my wife is crying right now because Ukraine is being invaded, but get this. And this is, for you, Nehemiah, big facts. This is for you. The wages, say like you were working at a Walmart in Ukraine, and you were working at a Walmart in Russia. The Ukrainian Walmart, the Russian Walmart is paying you 3 times more money to do the exact same job. The healthcare in Ukraine. The healthcare in Ukraine is the worst healthcare, that's what he's telling me, is the worst healthcare you ever seen. The Russians have 10 times better healthcare than the Ukrainians do. He said, in Ukraine, half of the people in Ukraine still speak Russian. They don't want to speak the Ukrainian language. And he said it's leaning more to 60% of the people in Ukraine want Russia to come in and want to be under the umbrella of the Russian country. They don't want to be. And I was like, wow, that's some big facts to me, Brother Davis. I was like, wow. He's like, yeah. He's like, this is coming from my wife, who still has friends, family members, and loved ones that's over there. This is what's happening. So, do we see Putin as the dictator, or do we see Putin as a liberator? It's all in how you feel. Me? I have no judgments either way. I'm neutral. I sit on the sidelines and just, get infinitely abundant off of either situation. It don't matter to me. I'm neither here nor there. I'm neutral. I'm Israel. I'm neutral. I'm going to be neutral in this situation. But it was good to hear from this man's experience from his wife. Some people see Ukrainians see Putin as going in there and liberating the country and bringing them back under the fold. When you understand history, you know USSR, Ukraine was in there. Go look at a map. Google a map right now of the USSR. And believe me, Ukraine was right in there. So is that Putin just coming in and taking back what's his and what's theirs? Rabbi Zachariah said they were never allowed to have guns, and now they're throwing the people guns. Right? Think about this now. You see, don't get swayed by what you just hear in the media. You see, Because as we know, we do want to talk about facts. You know, we all know how Cohen has taught us is that the media sways. You know, you get a bias. You know, this channel does this bias, sways more liberal. This one is more democratic and blah blah blah. And you Republican, Democrat, blah blah blah, all that blah. Me, I'm neutral. I understand I'm a stranger in your land. I understood this before I knew who I am, Baruch Hashem. I was like, look, I know I don't belong. I said, I used to ask myself this. How many of you do? How the hell did I end up in America? Why am I here? They calling me African American. Why am I here in America? Why am I even here? Why am I in? Anybody used to ask yourself that question? Like, how did I get here? I knew at that time I didn't belong here. I knew at that time that I did not belong here. Brother, there was a Creator works in mysterious ways. Yeah, right? I knew I didn't belong. I was like, man, I don't belong here. These people calling me all this stuff, I don't even know if I'm all this stuff. They call me Negro, call me Black, call me African American, blah, blah, blah. Call me Creole. They call me, oh man, what am I? Who am I? At the end of the day. Who do they say that I am? You know what I mean? No, I was like, who am I? No, how did I even get here? I've always been a thinker. And I'm always, thinking. Gullah, there you go. That's another one. Like, well, who am I? Mulatto? Creole? Whoa, what does that mean? Where my ancestors come from? Who am I? These are questions that I had way before. Long ago, I had these questions when I knee-high to a tadpole, trying to figure this out. Asking myself. Because the preacher sure wasn't telling me. Mom and Pop, they sure wasn't telling me. They didn't know. Grandmama, she's still looking at white Jesus picture on her wall in her house. I still remember that picture. Looking at white Jesus. I'm like, okay. And then I began to think, so I got to wait on the white man to save me. Whoa. Listen, I'm not prejudiced, but I'm just saying this is how I was thinking. Look, I come from the South. I'm from Louisiana. This is what I'm thinking. Man, hey, I got to wait on this white man on the wall to save me. The white man can save me. I'm like, wait a minute now. I can save myself. I don't need to wait on. I mean, what? I've been praying to Jesus. Jesus is not doing nothing for me. I'm not seeing any change. Then I began to grow and mature into myself spiritually. I began to realize, wow, I want to be free. The Bible talks about being free. I want to be free. I found freedom in the Torah of Moshe. I found freedom. And how did I find that freedom, pray tell? And I would imagine that a majority of you in this room, family members, you found freedom the same way. You found freedom with the son of Aaron, Rabbi Simon Altab. He came in and he was told and instructed to do this, quit his job, to publish a Bible and to put it out there, YouTube, put it out there on Amazon so people can begin to realize who they are. It was this period in history for Israel to begin to wake up out of her slumber. Israel all over the world waking up, realizing and understanding their history. And now, as we talk about life, we realize that life is really worth living now. We live in life. We don't just have a life, we live in life. We live in it. And we live in it based upon our own desires and what we want for ourselves. Rabbi Yeshua ben Yosef, Jesus of Nazareth, he went around saying, what do you want? Well, what do you want? Well, what do you want? Well, Jesus, the people hungry. Well, what do they want? They want to eat. Okay, let's feed them. Well, we only have these 5 loaves, this 2 fish. Well, what are we going to do with this? Let's feed them. Feed them. This is what the people want. What do you want? Well, I'm blind and I want to see. Okay. Here, let me spit in this mud. Put this on your eye. Go wash yourself. You good. Wait a minute. But I want to see. Okay, go see. See. What do you want? We got to change the whole way that we've been taught in our experiences. The focus must be on yourself, not away from yourself, not outside of yourself, but to yourself, to myself. And then we'll begin to experience freedom at its full capacity, full level. We'll be free. In our holy books, we're on the Parsha, Tisaveh, the Parsha, Shemut Exodus, chapter 27, verses 20 through 30. Starting at verses 20 and going all the way to chapter 30, verses 10. Now, this whole Parsha, the reason why I'm talking this way, this whole Parsha is dealing with the Kohanim, with the priesthood, the leadership of Israel, the teachers of Israel. It's very, very important for us to understand this as Israel wakes up, is that we have to go back to those patterns. The before pattern that works, it replicates, it repeats. We must find the Kohen in the gate, and we must fall under his umbrella to teach us, fall at his feet, so we can learn and we can grow, and we can live life. Not to nobody's standard but your own. Because we realize and we know who we are. And we get our instruction from the Kohanim. We look at Exodus chapter 28, verse 1. Now take Aaron your brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel. They were taken from among us. Our brothers. Our Kohen is my brother from the same mother, actually. Taken from us. Judah and Levi, Baruch Hashem, taken from us, from the children of Israel, that he may minister to me as a Kohen. This is why I tell all of you listening on Facebook, you listening on YouTube, you get this recording, you must come back to the Kohen. Now what I'm seeing is something total opposite. People, like I said, they get a little bit of Torah in them, and they put the H on their chest and they become super Hebrew. And they get on YouTube, and they say, I'm a teacher of the Torah. You go on YouTube and find them all over the place. They teach the Torah, and they teach it, and they tell you to do this, and, this means this, and listen. Let me say, listen. And I know you all listen like, okay, what we listen to? But listen. It's important to understand this. If we want to get our history right, and you truly want to become free, we must go back to the patterns, and we must not taint our history. We must not try to reinvent the wheel when the wheel is rolling just fine all by itself. Rabbi Zachariah says they become Kohens. Yes, they do. There's a lot of people out here that I don't know who made them a teacher. Our Kohen made me a teacher. You know what? You know how it went down? It went down just like this. I'm going to tell you exactly how it went down. He came to my living room here in San Antonio. We sit there talking, and he's like, hey Kefa, you're a rabbi. I was like, huh? That's just how it went down. He's like, I'm going to make you a rabbi, and you're going to teach with me. I was like, oh, okay, sure. I didn't go to him saying, are you accepting students right now? Because I want to be your student. Learn from this. This is wisdom. The teacher takes on the student. The student don't take on the teacher. Did you get that? Let me show it to you. This is our history. Rabbi Yeshua ben Yosef, Jesus of Nazareth. How did he come about the 12 disciples? Did he go to them, or did they come to him? Ooh, better watch it now. That same pattern. I see our history played out, and I'm looking, I'm like, wow, this is like, this is interesting. Never once did I, at that time, before our coach was talking to me, I was, let's just put it this way. I was super Hebrew. I was like a zealot for the Most High. Man, I cut you down. And I don't mean literally, but man, with the information that I knew, Rabbi Zakari, I was woo-wee. Man, I was, look, man, I will let you know. I will let you know my history, where I stand. And I can give two damns about whatever you thought about. But I've calmed down since then. And I'll tell you this about my teacher as well. Hey, back in the day, and Rabbi Zakari could probably tell you this as well, HaKohen was a lot more, let's just say, zealous for the Most High than he is now. He's calmed down a whole lot. He's kind of put that side on the back burner because we're in a different age, we're in a different phase right now. But HaKohen, HaKohen, he can bring the heat and the fire and all that, and the steak and cook it all at the same time. Woo-wee. He's calmed down a lot as well. I've calmed down tremendously. Maturity will do that to you. Our way of life, our history is so amazing. You get a little bit of it, and it'll just take you a long ways. And you just want to you just want everybody else to know. And that's not what we're supposed to do. That's not our pattern. It's totally not. That information is for us to keep and guard and do, not for every Joe Blog on the corner. Because remember, we're strangers in their land. This is not a Torah government and not a Torah nation. So we're not to make it a Torah government and a Torah nation. This Torah is for us, Rabbi Zakari said he chopped me up like a steak, but in a good way. Oh, indeed. All for our benefit. All to make us who we are today and continue to be. So, as we read there in chapter 28 of Exodus, verse 1, now take Aaron, your brother, this Moses' brother, by the way, and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister to me as a Kohen, Aaron and his sons, Nadab, Avihu, and Eleazar, and Ithamar. Sons. Aaron and his sons. HaKohen is a son of Aaron. Descendant of Aaron and his sons, sons. You know what I mean? This is why. I'm telling you, I'm not being partial, but that Abrahamic-Faith Bible, the Hidden Jewish Brain Scrolls, is the best Bible out there in the world. You put it up next to any Bibles that you have in your library, on your bookshelf, and it just, the commentary alone just blow them away. Can't touch them. You know what I mean? That's the understanding of a Kohen. And that's what you get. A lot of people can't handle it. They can't handle the truth, can't handle the facts. Like our Kohen says, he like to say a lot. But can you handle it? And a lot of folks can't. And so they don't stay. They go away. And that's okay. That's okay. Nehemiah says, yes, it is. It makes the rest look sad to use. Oh, indeed. But you must you must compare the two. That's a must. Because then it'll give you even a more higher gratitude and higher appreciation for the Kohen in the gate, who was taken from among Israel to minister. To minister. Well, we got minister so-and-so and minister so-and-so and then this minister. But who's to minister to Israel? And they come and they say they fight for Israel. They come, they say, and they come and they give you some nuggets. I give them that. But again, They come from a point of not understanding our history and who we are as a people. You see what I mean? So they're not giving you the unadulterated, just pure, living waters. It's water, but it's a little bitter. You know what I mean? But I want the living waters. I want my water clear. I don't want it salty. I don't want it full of sand. I want it clear to where I can take it in and it'll nourish my body. And it'll be as nourishment to me. It give me vigor. Just like we're told in our holy books, as Moses closed it up, Musa said, be strong and be strengthened, Baruch Hashem. I want that water to strengthen me. And these times that we're living in, we got to personify strength. That's what's going to draw people to you. Yo, you strong man. Friend of mine, he come in, holding his cell phone. He's like, man, my stocks, my 401k. I'm like, hey, be still. Peace be still. It's okay. What you see as failure, I see as a great opportunity. Look at all the opportunities I begin to explain. Look at all these opportunities out here. Opportunities, stocks that have just dropped to, places that historically haven't been there in a long time. This is a great opportunity for you to get in. Great buying opportunity. Don't see it as, my 401k is tanking. Don't see it that way. See it as a buying opportunity. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. It's all in your perspective, Mishpahah. Opportunity. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. That's okay. Losing, I told him, you know what? Lose little. Lose, all right, cut it. But win big. You're going to lose sometime. You're not going to win. I mean, you got to understand that. Learn the lesson from it, and then go and win big. Apply your models, apply your strategies, and keep moving. So we see this Parsha Tisha B'Av. It's all about Tisha B'Av. It's all about the Kohanim and their role for Israel. They were taken out of Israel to minister, not to the Most High, but to be ministers to, for the Most High, to what? To Israel. You see, because the Most High, the creator of all things, has a pattern. He don't come down here and do things on his own. He comes through and he uses human beings to do things. Why? It's because he gave dominion to human beings to be able to do this. He gave us the dominion to what? Dominate the earth. So in all righteousness, he has to use a man, or in some cases a woman. He has to utilize human beings to carry out his actions that he wants us to see take place. So we see this, and it's very, 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 very important that we all understand this. As if you call yourself a Israelite, you call yourself a Hebrew, you call yourself a follower of Moshe, this Torah, you must understand we must go back to who? The priesthood. For our history. For our history. We must. That's a must-have. Now I understand why the Most High called HaKohen out as a Muslim and told him, hey, you're going to have to pen a book. Who else penned the book? Well, he penned some scrolls. Moses also penned the book, right? He penned the book as well. He penned the scrolls, the Torah. We know he didn't pen it all. He had some assistance in the end. But he penned the Torah. See the pattern? Remember I told you, our history, you can take from it and just replicate it. And then you'll know that you're following right history because it replicates. Our God, our powers don't change. Yeah, we evolve, but we don't change. This ought to assist you. Because I know there's times where, ego will creep in, doubt will creep in and begin to say, well, how do I really know that this is just the right? What is this right? Or am I doing it right? Could it be that there's something else out there? Is there? Go back. We have, like I said, we have a book that's laid out. Past, now, and future. Now. It's all laid out. And you can pick the patterns out of it like no man's business. Now, Rabbi Zachariah will know this because this happened at his base, at his home. I just told you about the pattern that we have in our holy books. About the teacher selecting the student, not the student selecting the teacher, right? And Rabbi Zachariah is a witness to this. HaKohen opened up let's just say, an opportunity for individuals to become rabbis. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rabbi Zachariah. And this training was going to take place up in the Dallas area here in Texas at Rabbi Zachariah's house. And Rabbi Simon spent many days teaching these men to become rabbis. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rabbi Zachariah. This is just what went down. Now, these men had an opportunity to become rabbis. They wanted, this is what they wanted. HaKohen didn't select them. He didn't handpick them. He just said, hey, if you want this training, come up here in the Dallas area, and Rabbi Zachariah's base, and we'll do this training while I teach you, give you some insight on who we are. Now, that happened. Just to show you about our pattern. Now, that happened a couple of years ago. Now, majority of those rabbis that were trained by HaKohen are no longer here with us. They're back 2015. See, there you go. They're back in 2015. Dang. 2015. Majority of those rabbis today are no longer with us. Majority of them. I can't give you the precise number. Maybe Rabbi Zachariah can. But a majority of them are no longer with us. What does that tell you? That tells you that we got to stick to our system. Let me tell you the words that Rabbi Simon said after that. He said, I'll never do this again, Kefa. He said, I'll never do this again. Never will he do what he did. That was historic. Well, what happened at Rabbi Zachariah's house was historic, and it will never happen again. Never. Never. Rabbi Zachariah is telling you, for you who listen on YouTube and on Facebook, he's telling you that 80% are gone. 80% of those rabbis are gone. Wow. Look at the pattern. Out of all the people that came out of Egypt, all the men, how many men went into the land flowing with milk and honey? 2, right? 2 did. Do you see the pattern with what Rabbi Zachariah just said? 80% are gone of the rabbis. Only 20% are still here. Do you see the pattern? 80% of the men that came, the percentage is even lower than that. Do you see the pattern, Nehemiah? That's how our holy books are. It's all about the patterns. And the patterns are confirmation that you're on track. Why? It's because, like I told you earlier in the beginning of my lecture, our history, we got a history that lays out the before, the now, and the future. We just got to walk in it. We just got to walk it. That's why our way is a walk. You just got to walk in it. Isn't that beautiful? You don't have to recreate. This is what I'm telling you. Go back to the Kohen. I tell everybody, go to the Kohen. Anybody that has met me or that has had any kind of contact with him, say, hey, man, you got to come to the Power Talk room, get with the Kohen. You got to link up with the Kohen. You're Israel, link up with the Kohen. You're Hebrew, link up with the Kohen. Link up, because that's key. That is the key to you just having a life and living life. JoJo Dancer, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so happy to see new people come in. They come to this room, and they don't just come for once or twice, but they actually come here and they stay here. They stay put. Because they're home, and they realize this is where I can grow. I'm seeing the growth. I'm seeing the development in myself. You see what I'm saying? That's what's important. I get flying flute about who comes in and who doesn't. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at Israel and I'm telling you, Israel, look, you want to be free now. You want to be free. And you only going to be free if you come back to the code, because they're the ones that minister to us. They minister to us. They minister. That's our pattern. I just read it. Exodus chapter 28, verse 1. That's our pattern. They were taken out of Israel. They came out of Israel to minister to us. You see? Not many people are going to accept that because everybody wants to be super Hebrew on their chest, big H, and everybody wants to be a teacher. Everybody wants to be the messenger, blah, 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 for Israel. I tell you what. Lately, it's been Black History Month. Black History Month here in America. Hey, Oliver, does France have a Black History Month? Anybody in UK, do they have a Black History Month as well? Do they have a Black History Month? Well, it's been Black History Month, and I've been listening to some great speeches given by Malcolm X. Man, he had some insight. Militant, but he had great insight. I've been listening to what's that dude? Farrakhan from the Muslims. I've been listening to him. Shabbat Shalom, my Kohen. I'm about wrapping it up over here. So I've been listening to Farrakhan. Great messages. He got great, again. I told Hakohen, he says he's the Aaron to Moses. That's what he claims to be. And so he has you guys need to listen to these men. They have great insight. But again, they pale in comparison. Why? It's because they try to teach you how to become Israel, how Israel's to be. But again, at the same time, they're not. They have been put in a place to minister. The only ones that are going to minister to Israel are going to be the Kohanim. Yeah, all these men will give you some nuggets. They give you some great golden nuggets. You know what I mean? But again, where are you gonna get who's gonna minister to you? But the Kohen. That's where it's gonna happen. So I tell everybody, Lottie Dottie, you have to come back and you have to connect. You got to get at the feet of the Kohen, and you can begin to grow and learn and have a life and live a life of abundance and live a life that you desire for yourself, for you, not for anybody else. You're living your life based upon how you want to live it. And that life is a life of freedom. That's where you're going to find your freedom, because the Torah is going to free you. Our history will free you if it's taught to you in the right manner. Now, parallel this. Those men that I named off to you, a lot of them were telling you okay, you black Negroes, y'all need to pick up arms and we got to fight the white man and blah, 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 right? A lot of them say that. A lot of them say, okay, we got to separate. And I'm hearing them. This is what they teaching. This is what they teaching. But again, juxtapose that with the time of Yeshua ben Yosef, Jesus of Nazareth. What were the so-called, Jews telling him? Okay, Messiah is here. It's time for us to fight. Let's pick up arms, right? What they say? But again, same pattern. But again, who's ministering to who? And Yeshua ben Yosef was telling them, I'm paraphrasing, look, I didn't come here to do all that. I came for the scattered sheep of Israel. That's what I came for. I didn't here to come start no fight. I didn't come here to do none of that. I didn't here to start no war. I'm not here for none of that. I'm here to give you the intended meaning of our way of life, because it at that time had totally been changed. And when I say changed, it was literally changed. Because the Hebrews of Moses' time were not those Jews that the New Testament talks about. They were totally different people there. You know what verse really sticks out to me? And I'm going to close with this, but I remember the one verse where it says Jesus was talking to the quote unquote Jews, and I remember going to do a little teaching on this as well, where they say, well, we have never been subjected to any bondage or this. I'm like, wait a minute. If y'all the Jews, then y'all came out of the bondage of Egypt. But they said, well, we have never been subjected to any kind of bondage, and we have never been enslaved. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Who is this prototype Jew here? Do they not know their history? But yes, they do know their history. But their history wasn't our history. Anybody remember that verse that I'm talking about? Where Jesus was having that conversation? You need to go back and look it up. Because they're like, wait a minute. You're not. And then Yeshua goes on to tell him, well, you're not my father. He said, you and I have the same father. Our father is Abraham. And then Jesus said, well, if your father was Abraham, then you'd be doing the things that Abraham did, and you would recognize me. But then he said, no, you're not the father of Abraham. Your father is the father of the wicked one, the evil one. Woo-wee! And he's so-called talking to Jews, you know what I mean? But again, he came for the scattered sheep of the house of Israel. Isn't that something? It's very interesting. But again, I'm going to get ready to close, but this is why it's so important that we know our history, Hebrews. We must understand our history, and it must be taught to us in the right way. This is why we got to come to the ministers of our history. Exodus chapter 28, verse 1 tells us that Aaron and his sons were taken out of Israel. They came out of Israel to minister to us. They weren't ministering to the Most High. They came to minister to who? The Hebrews, and to teach us and instruct us and to guide us on how we need to do things. You know, what do we need to do? How we need to live our lives? What should we be doing? And believe me, I've never heard a teaching come out of HaKohen that says we need to pick up weapons and get ready for war. No. Leave that to Putin and them over there. We're not here to pick up weapons and get ready for war. We're here to take care of our families and raise up our nations that we're in, these great shepherd nations. And not to condemn them and not to put them down. My goodness. Not to put them down. Now, I did hear this. And HaKohen, I'd like your take on this. Because this Islam that they practice over here under the Nation of Islam is not the same Islam as in the East. Is that true? And I heard that the Islam in the East, they don't recognize that this Islam in the West as being Islam. Is that factual? Do you know anything on that, HaKohen? I find that very interesting as well. I know they have different offshoots of Islam, just like they have of all the other religions. But that Islam that the Prophet Muhammad is teaching, the Islam of not Elijah Muhammad and this Louis Farrakhan guy, is not the same Islam that is talked about, that is predominantly prevalent in the East. So that's quite interesting. So I just find all this interesting. You learn about all these different religions and this, that, the other, and the third. But get this, I also learned this as well, is that the Holy Quran, as Rabbi Zechariah says this, Muslims call Moses the greatest prophet ever, but they follow Elijah Muhammad. Why don't they follow Moses? Right. And get this as well. I learned this fact, Nehemiah and Brother Davis, is that in the Quran, the word Moses is mentioned above all the other prophets. Moses is mentioned above Muhammad. It's mentioned above all the other prophets. The word Moses is mentioned the most. Isn't that something? Isn't that amazing? So, Rabbi Zechariah, to what you were saying, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? So, like Rabbi Zechariah, my reasoning was, well, why aren't they focused on what Moses said if the majority of what they're talking about is Moses? Then why don't they teach what Moses taught? Why is that not on the forefront of their religion? You know what I mean? So that's quite interesting. That's very, very interesting. But I really do like I really do like what Malcolm X was talking about, because he came from, his name used to be Shabazz, and then he came out of Islam. He came out of that Nation of Islam stuff, and then he became Malcolm X. But you listen to some of his speeches; they're very, very interesting. And it's the point in history to where you had all that big racial tensions going on during that time. That's during that time I was born. You know, doing all the racial tensions and stuff like that. I'm gonna ask my mother if she ever followed any of these guys. Yeah, in the 60s. Yeah, all the racial tensions. And just, it's really interesting on how they saw the man of color during that time. It's very, very interesting. And how, yeah, he was treated during that time. Very interesting history. Because these men were living during that time. They lived this out. You know what I mean? And always remember this, is that Torah doesn't divide. Torah doesn't subtract. Torah will multiply. So if you're under the umbrella of Moses, you're a multiplier. You're not trying to divide, and you're definitely not trying to subtract. Like, oh, we got to take this dude out, this dude out, and that dude out. We're not trying to do none of that stuff. So it's very, very important that you understand that. The recipe, our history, our way of life is about multiplying, not subtracting and not separating. So understand that going forward. That'll take you very far if you just understand that concept, because around you, you see a lot of separation and you see a lot of division. In the countries that we're in, you'll see that. It's in your face. But we're multipliers. Understand that going forward. And on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Hakohim. I'll say Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom to all of you. My desire is that this lecture has been beneficial to you. Remember, life and, you want to live life, remember, you got to know your history. We have to know our history. And we have to be taught our history in the right way. That's very, very important. My desire is that this was instructional for you, and that you can take something from it and run with it and begin to apply it in your daily lives. Over to you, Hakoid. I'll say Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom to all of you, Mishpah.